He is the most fearless player in this group of going over the middle of the field. It's just he's not explosive. He doesn't have good top speed. He's never going to be a high-end separator, but you just got to be an outlier with that and play in traffic, play through tough traffic areas. Not play in traffic.
Go play in traffic.
Oh, man. Oh, boy. Go play in traffic.
You just got, if you can dodge your ends, if you dodge traffic, you can dodge a ball.
Oh, God. NFL Stock Exchange, go play in traffic.
Go play in traffic. Welcome to the opening bell of the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. Trevor, Sikkema, Connor Rogers here with you guys for another episode of Summer Scouting, a very exciting one. Connor, we've got everybody in for this one. We've got the draft fans, we've got the loyal addicts, we've got the fantasy football people, we've got the Devy community here. I mean, we've got basically everybody. This is the wide receiver episode is a family reunion episode. It's a barbecue out back. We got the grill rolling. The kids are in the pool. The beers are ice cold. It's a fantastic.
There's some weird uncles around. There's definitely some weird uncles around that keep saying stuff around the kids, and you're like, can you not say that around the kids? That's what the wide receiver episode brings in.
Yeah, sure. You could have gone D1 if you didn't have elbow tendinitis after playing tennis one summer. Sure.
That knee injury. And they don't ever say what the injury was, just a bad knee.
Dude, this is always a lot of fun because just like we have done through every single summer scouting episode, I don't know which guys you are watching. You don't know which guys I'm watching. Generally, we watch the same players, but you and I don't have a text thread going over the last week and a half or 2 weeks that we've been watching this. So wide receiver specifically, there's so many different ways to win at the position. You could prioritize shiftiness and separation. You could prioritize the alpha on the line of scrimmage X guys. Maybe the guys that are those move players, a little bit of the in-between, a little bit of in and out. Maybe you prioritize that versatility. And so to come up with a top 15, which we are going to give you guys here today, it could be all over the place. So I've watched 24 of these guys so far to get them into the mock draft simulator. I'd like to get to 30 by the time we get to college football kickoff. So you guys, please comment any players that we missed that you would love to see in the mock draft simulator when we get to that point. But yeah, there's just a lot of different players in this class, and it might not be as strong at the top as we've seen in different years, but boy, it feels pretty deep this year.
I thought the same thing. I didn't come away with the take of this class right now that there is this wide receiver that you could see being a top 5 to 10 pick, and that can change. That's why a lot of these guys are younger players. Some of them are looking, for the level of targets that allows them to show they can carry an offense. A lot of transfers where guys are looking to kind of be unlocked in a new offense or with a new quarterback. But you are right, Trevor. I thought, honestly, the depth, once again, is really, really good. I got eyes on 19 players. I felt comfortable with a full watch and write-up of 16. We are going to do 15 today. There's 3 outside of the 16 that I've seen, but I'm just not comfortable ranking yet that I'll mention and shout out at the end of the show. But it feels like there's a big pack that can be kind of stuck together. If you were ranking the top 100 players in the draft, the wide receiver 3 in this class can be pretty close to the wide receiver 9 is kind of how it can go. So it's going to be a fun group to break down with all kinds of different sizes, athletic attributes, and of course, different varying degrees of production so far.
I think wide receiver 7 through 17 or 18, I might have a 3rd or a 4th round grade on.
Like, and that's kind of where the things are going.
Middle
naturally.
of the pack wide receivers. Yeah, there's just so many different guys who are there who it's like, okay, I think you're good. Do you have a separating trait? Do you have something that puts you over the top? And if you don't, I think you're kind of like within that cluster. So I'll let you kick it off. Let's do like we always do. Let's do increments of 5 to start this thing out. Then when we get up into the top 5, we'll spend a little bit more time on those players that we have in the top 5 of that ranking leading up to number 1. So 15 through 11, who you got here?
Number 15 for me, this is a giant projection player. I'm excited to talk about him with you. Eugene Wilson III from Florida. His dad won 2 Super Bowls with the Patriots, so there's some bloodlines here. We'll have a conversation about him, of course. 14, Germie Bernard at Alabama. It is spelled Germie. It is Germie Bernard. Definitely a unique spelling of that. Of course, that leads me to number 13, Nick Harbor from South Carolina. Everybody's favorite EACFB freak show in terms
Holy
of
smokes,
6'5",
man.
almost 240 pounds, insane speed. We haven't gotten the production from him that we're hoping for, and that's why he's at 13 for me, where if you asked 2 years ago, you could see Nick Harbor maybe being a guy that is a top 5 prospect in this class. He hasn't gotten there yet. Let's see if he could do it this year. Number 12, Elijah Sarratt from Indiana. Their big-bodied possession alpha wide receiver. Obviously, he's going to get to play with Fernando Mendoza this year in that Indiana offense. A lot of people have eyes on this connection. And then 11, Zachariah Branch, who is now at Georgia, transferring from USC. Another guy with a lot of hype and expectations, looking to blossom in a new offense.
Okay, so we have two that I think are in the same realm here. I think it's Zachariah. I think is how you say his name. But Zachariah Branch, I have at 14, and then I have Germie Bernard at 13. So okay. I have both of those guys there. We have those guys similarly here in our rankings. Let's start with one of those guys, because then we'll hit the other ones, I think, in different conversations. But which one do you want to start with? You want to start with Bernard, or do you want to start with Branch?
Let's start with Branch.
Okay.
Here, yeah, let me pull them up in my notes. This is a deep spreadsheet of wide receivers. Obviously, every year there's so many. So 6'1", 209 pounds. Bernard's bounced around, started at Michigan State, was at Washington. He's found success at Alabama, of all places, now. Senior wide receiver. So decent size, 6'1", 209. Last year, 50 catches, almost 800 yards, only 2 touchdowns. To me, Trevor, he is a guy in this group that he doesn't really have special physical traits, but he is just a very reliable zone eater, is what he is in this offense to me. Like, I was impressed with his ability to attack coverages, sit in the soft spot of zone, and finish plays with reliable hands. I don't think you're looking for him to take the top off of defense. I don't think you're looking for him to be a special creator with the ball in his hands, but I just thought he was a high IQ player that is now entering his senior year and understands what the defense will give him and how to attack that. So nothing overwhelming in terms of physical ability, but I think this is somebody that can easily be a wide receiver 4 or wide receiver 3 in an NFL offense one day because of the IQ and reliability he plays with. I think coaches will really, really like him, and it's clear why Alabama not only went out and got him in the portal a year ago, but utilized him right away in a way that 2 other team programs were not able to.
Yeah, so I have my wide receiver rankings in a little bit more detail, and here I have them in an overall top 15 because I think that that's what's most digestible and people sort of know those linear rankings. So I have them in a top 15, but really what I think matters more is I have the receiver position broken up into 3 different categories: X receivers, Z receivers or flankers, and then slot receivers. So it's a little bit of an interesting conversation in today's football because slot receiver, to me, I categorize slot receivers as guys who are only going to play in the slot.
Of course.
Because you can't exactly say that because, like, Mike Evans plays in the slot, right? Like, Julio Jones played in the slot.
CeeDee Lamb.
A lot of times, like, CeeDee Lamb obviously plays a lot in the slot. And, like, CeeDee Lamb, I wouldn't call him a slot receiver. I would call CeeDee Lamb a Z. I'd call him a flanker because he does really great work when he's off the line of scrimmage. You can put him in motion, all that kinds of stuff. Mike Evans is successful from the slot. The Bucs align him in the slot for mismatch purposes, but he is an X receiver. And so when I categorize a guy as a slot player, it's basically, I don't really think that they can play on the outside. Why? Because one, either they don't have the measurables for it. I don't think they're going to be able to hold up against consistent press coverage when they're lined up on the line of scrimmage, because those X receivers will line up on the outside on the line of scrimmage. Or I don't think they can be an outside receiver because I don't think they have the vertical speed to consistently threaten up the sideline, because that also goes into it. In my opinion, you have to have one of those 2 traits to be categorized as an outside wide receiver. If you are a bigger, stronger, on the line of scrimmage, if contested catches is your game, if you are a better blocker, if you know how to get off of press with strength more than speed, okay, I'm probably going to categorize you as an X wide receiver. Are you that red zone threat, that go up and get it above the rim type of guy? That's what you are. If you are an outside wide receiver and you win maybe a little bit less there, but you have a little bit more quickness to you, a little bit more route versatility, you can still threaten vertically up the field, but you'll also be a player that's used as a motion player before the snap, as maybe a wide receiver reverse type of a player, a guy who is in motion and either stops after their motion or continues to at the snap. Like, that is a flanker type of a receiver. You can have success on the left and the right side of the line of scrimmage, but I also think that you have that vertical speed to be a traditional outside receiver if you are asked to do so. So that's a Z. That's how I categorize a Z receiver. And then, like I said, a slot guy is somebody who I think, for whatever reason, one way or the other, or both, really, I just don't think they could primarily be on the outside. Does that mean they're never gonna line up on the outside? No, but it's really just where I see these guys' strength. So all of that to say, Germie Bernard, I have as a Z. I have him as a flanker wide receiver. He is wide receiver 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think he is Z receiver number 5 for me here. And the reason why is because I think he brings a lot of versatility to him. 370 snaps in the slot last year, 368 outside. So almost dead even with what he plays in the slot versus what he does on the outside. I agree with you completely, though. I don't think he has these special athletic traits. I don't think he's this big, take the top off of the defense type of a wide receiver, but he is really solid. And I think he's specifically solid in the intermediate areas of the field. And he can get to that intermediate area, whether he's playing in the slot or whether he's coming from the outside in as an outside sideline receiver to start things off. So I agree. I think he lives in the middle of the field. He's not a special athlete. He's kind of high cut in his build, which makes change of direction a little bit more difficult for him. But I think he is solid. I think it's a really good way that you put it. A wide receiver 4, a wide receiver 3. I think he's just a reliable guy who knows where to be, especially in the intermediate parts of the field. So Germie Bernard, I had his 13th in my rankings here, but I had him as actually wide receiver 4. Wide receiver 4 for that flanker, for that flanker Z position.
Zachariah Branch?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Branch for me was 11. And this is a weird one because I from the times I've watched USC and focused on him, because there's big expectations for him, for sure, especially with the flashes and stuff. Diving into the tape, I was a little disappointed. And I know I have him at 11, which in this wide receiver class isn't bad at all. And he's going to have an opportunity at Georgia, which, looking how they deployed their wide receivers last year, we obviously got really down to the tape to watch multiple wide receiver prospects they had. This fit makes a ton of sense to me. I expected a little bit more as a pure wide receiver on this tape. The good is he's quick, he's agile, the short and intermediate separation skills are obvious. He's small, though. I mean, he's listed 5'10", 180, and he is an undersized guy. It goes back to your conversation. Like, this is probably a slot receiver at the next level. I think with the ball in his hands, he's got really good vision. Put in perspective, 390 of his 500 receiving yards last year were after the catch.
Yes.
But the thing with that is like the average depth of target was very, very low. He's a small wide receiver that mostly plays in the slot. A lot of his production comes out of the slot. He's not a contested catch guy. When things get congested, 2 of 10 in 2024. When he's in traffic, it's not pretty. Why I'm still a believer is, number one, he does have athletic traits in terms of that short area quicks.
Did you mention the track background too?
I didn't get into that. No.
Cool. So he won the state championship in the 100 meter, in the 200 meter, and in the long jump. He had a 10.33 100-meter dash, a 21.01 in the 200 meter, and a 24-foot long jump. This kid is very athletically gifted when it comes to what he can do, top speed and explosiveness.
100%. The only thing I'm not growing frustrated, but noticing, because I have guys ahead of him that have a very similar story to just what you just said, like state record in the 100 or top level production like when you have a track body still playing football as trying to be an NFL prospect, that's hard.
Right.
This was an Arian Smith issue last year. It's an issue for a lot of small receivers. It's like, yeah, it's great you have a track background, but you still look like a track runner.
100%.
And it's very hard to not be one-dimensional on the football field from an NFL perspective if you can't overcome that. But Branch is a really good athlete. He's an excellent punt returner. When you go back to 2023, he returned 16 punts for 332 yards, brought one back to the house. So that's a special team skill that I think is really, really important. Is there a world where if his breakout in Georgia, can he try to be this Zay Flowers light? That's what you want from Branch, in my opinion, in terms of usage and production. Because after the catch, he's impressive. I think he can get away from defenders in the short and intermediate area. But why he didn't crack my top 10 is this is somebody to me he's just small and he plays small right now. And it led to limitations.
Yeah, he feels like a player who, and I had him 14 overall, and as a slot receiver, which I agree with you completely, I view him as a slot-only type of receiver. I have him as slot receiver number 4. And that even, I was surprised that I was sort of like that high on him, but you just can't teach how athletically gifted this guy is. And he is, let's remember, only a true junior, right? He has only played those 2 years at USC, and as I don't mean this to be like big shade on Lincoln Riley, but Lincoln Riley's trying to win college football games, man. Like, Lincoln Riley's not necessarily like, hey, we've got to develop you as much as we possibly can for the NFL game. And to me, when I watch Zachariah Branch, I watch a player that is clearly, the accolades speak for themselves, how gifted he is as a track athlete. He looks like a 7-on-7 wide receiver.
Yeah.
Like that, like that's how he plays. He plays like, I'm going to beat you with speed, and that's it. Like, even after the catch, obviously he was great after the catch, but it's not like he's breaking ankles with his routes before the ball's in his hands. He's not, and I wish that he did that. And it's sort of like, we need to take the next couple of years for Zachariah Branch and say, utilize that speed that you prioritize after the catch. You've got to be able to do that before you get the ball. Like, we're going to talk about a couple of wide receivers here where even if you're not the most athletic player in the world, if you know how to tempo your routes, you know how to tempo your speed, you can create separation. You can win at the position. And Zachariah Branch has all of the athletic ability in the world to be unbelievable at that. And he doesn't have that feel for zone. He just has one speed. The second he gets the ball in his hands, I'm running as fast as I possibly can. And we need to hone that in a little bit more with him because the potential is through the roof. But I agree with you. Sometimes the guys feel like they're still wearing their track cleats when they put the helmet on. And that's how it feels for Zachariah Branch. He feels like a track athlete who's trying to play football out there. So
what was your 15 to 11 or any surprises here?
Yeah, so my 15 to 11, I've got Jaden Greathouse from Notre Dame. I have him at number 15, player who I really like. I don't know if he made your top 15, but I'll talk about him if not. Zachariah Branch I had at 14. Germie Bernard I had at 13. Bryce Lance, the wide receiver from North Dakota State, I have him at 12.
I did not watch him.
And then Dane Key I have at number 11. So
11 and 12 I did not watch.
Oh, you didn't watch Key either?
No.
Okay. All right. So I will get into Lance. And as I'm pulling up his scouting report here, Anthony Russo, who has been following for the podcast for a long time, he was the one who actually put him on my radar because I tweeted out from the Stock Exchange account. I was like, hey, we're not doing a podcast this week. We're trying to watch as many guys as possible. Who do we really need to get eyes on? And he said Bryce Lance. He said he's wide receiver 1. Oh. And obviously I don't have him wide receiver 1, but he does have some fun tape. There are sometimes when you watch these North Dakota State guys, especially the ones that are future NFL dudes, and you go, okay, you're clearly just dominating competition levels that probably won't translate to the NFL. But we could start with him. We could start with Bryce Lance, and I could hit him and Dane Key pretty quickly. So
Anthony always has really good recommendations. Like he's in the trenches. He's in the weeds of scouting.
Yes, Anthony's absolutely. He's an addict. He is in the weeds of scouting. There's no doubt about it. So Bryce Lance, North Dakota State redshirt junior. If the last name sounds familiar, yes, your memory serves you correctly. He is the older brother of Trey Lance, and so he's got the NFL bloodlines. I'll call him NFL bloodlines. Yeah, I'll do it.
Well, sure,
I'll do it. Number 3 overall pick in the draft. You can't take that away from him.
No, you can't.
So he is the brother of Trey Lance. Bryce was a 3-star recruit, committed to North Dakota State, redshirted his first year, basically played special teams in 2022 and 2023 exclusively. And then last year was his first year as a full-time starter. He started 13 of 16 games, and he looked excellent. He looked like the best wide receiver on the team, and he was wildly impressive. I'm very excited to see him again, to see if he could stack really good years together, because there's a lot to like about what he put on the table in just 1 year as a starter. So 6'3", 209 pounds. I have him listed as an X receiver. They'll play him in the slot. They'll play him as a move a little bit, but he can do the X receiver things. And I think his limitations vertically are also why I kind of wanted to categorize him as an X receiver. So 6'3", 209 pounds. That's 81st percentile and 68th percentile. When you look at what he does very well, catches the football. Number one job of a wide receiver is what? Catch
It's pretty important.
the ball. And whether it is the catchable passes caught category or contested catch categories, he's above 50% in contested catch percentage, and he was above 96% in catchable passes caught. That's exactly what you want to see from a player like that. To me, I feel like the top speed from him is average to below average. It feels like he struggles to separate versus the level of competition that he's playing at now. That only is going to get much more difficult in the NFL. So I believe that his speed is average to below average, is why I have him outside of my top 10. And he has a low separation score, at least he did in 2024, against single coverage because of that. Now, he is one of those players who I was talking about earlier. You don't have to be the fastest guy in the world to create some of that little, I'll even just call it throwing windows, maybe not even separation. He is excellent tempoing his releases. He is calculated with his footwork releases. He is calculated with how he is running his routes, when he is running full speed, when he is throttling down. That allows him to sit in his soft spots of zones. It allows him to get just a little bit of separation to create that throwing window, to go up and get it with his bigger size, because he's got a little bit more of a slender build to him. He showed up big in the biggest games, I thought, for North Dakota State. Some of his highest receiving grades came against South Dakota State in that rivalry game and against Montana State in the championship game. So you love that about him. And then those 2 years of him predominantly playing special teams has given him really good and consistent blocking technique, which is, again, what you want to see from an X type of receiver. So things to like about Trey Lance's younger brother. I think he is certainly an NFL prospect in his own right. I don't think he is going to get drafted ahead of Trey Lance, who went number 3 overall, but I do think that he has got a shot to stick at the NFL level. Any thoughts, any comments there with Bryce Lance before I move on to Dane Key?
It'll be interesting to see if he has a big enough year that he decides to declare, because he's a true junior, I believe, right?
No, he's redshirt junior.
Redshirt junior? Okay.
Yeah.
Typically,
he's probably gone.
Okay.
He's probably leaving.
Usually the North Dakota State guys don't. That's what's interesting to me. They usually ride out like as many years as they can, get a ton of snaps, go through the Senior Bowl circuit. Not saying that he has to follow the same pathway as all of those guys, but
he is a redshirt senior. I got that wrong.
Oh,
I read that wrong.
So last year was his only year of actually playing in the offense.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, and then this next year will be it for him. Yep.
Okay, a really interesting player to watch.
Well, I don't know. People are getting eligibility out of nowhere.
That's true. You could never be certain for any of this. It's amazing.
I don't know. I was late to practice one day, and so I got to get another year.
Wait until we do safeties.
You got it.
We got the first time 4-time member of summer scouting. 4.
I am custom making an NFLSC NFL jersey with Jalen Catalon's name and number on it.
Yep.
And I'm somehow going to get him to sign it.
Oh, yes.
We've got to do it. So anyways, yes, he this is his last year here, but
okay.
If he can string together 2 years, I mean, it'll be very interesting for him.
Yeah.
Dane Key, so Key, I have just ahead of Bryce Lance as wide receiver 5 for X receivers. I have him wide receiver 11 overall. He is a senior. He is a true senior. He is at Nebraska this year after spending the last 3 seasons at Kentucky. He is listed at 6'3", 210 pounds. So again, 81st percentile and 70th percentile, very similar to what Bryce Lance was listed at. He was a 4-star wide receiver coming out of Lexington, Kentucky. He was the high school football player of the year in the state of Kentucky. He was also a center fielder on the baseball team for 3 seasons while playing high school. So he's got that multi-sport background to him. You love to see it. Pete Carroll paying attention. He committed to Kentucky, the hometown team from Lexington, Kentucky, committed to Lexington. Played in 12 games and started 12 games as a true freshman in 2023. Started 12 games again in 2022. Started 12 games again in 2023. And then the same thing. Started 11 games in 2024. I got to think that he transferred just because maybe he just wanted to change of scenery at that point. I mean, he was a Kentucky legend. He's been Kentucky the whole time. Maybe he just didn't think the passing offense because, I mean, let's face it. And maybe NIL goes into it, but also Nebraska's got Dylan Raiola, and he is, seen as a potential first-round pick in the 2027 draft. So perhaps he wanted to, after 3 years at Kentucky, hitch his wagon to a different quarterback and a different passing offense, help his NFL stock. So maybe that is the reason why. His father, Dane Key, played linebacker at Kentucky for 4 years in the 90s. His brother, Devin, played at Western Kentucky, and then he spent a little time in the NFL with the Chiefs, the Falcons, and the Denver Broncos as well. So he's got some NFL bloodlines to him. Big dude. As an ex-receiver, what he brings to the table, big frame that looks like he can hold even more weight. I mean, he looks big, and he looks kind of slender even right now. So thinking about him being at 210, you could probably get him up to 220 comfortably, in my opinion, and he can play even stronger on the line of scrimmage than he does now, which is already a pretty good baseline. I think that for as much as I categorize him as an X, Kentucky moved him all over the place. They played him in the slot. They'd make him a move receiver. Very clearly, he was the go-to guy in that passing offense. So he's got experience playing all 3 receiver spots. Pretty solid catchable passes caught and contested catch percentages throughout his entire career, which is 3 years as a starter now. He's got a little bit more wiggle and savviness to his routes than you would think for a big man. And so you're watching his film just is very, very intriguing, and I can't wait to see him in Nebraska's offense. Hopefully they'll be able to open it up a little bit more for him. High potential as a run blocker, given the size and given the strength. He's not a super explosive player. Again, that's why I think I categorize him more as an X, because I think it leans into he's a stronger player than he is an explosive player. Kind of struggles to get off press with a little bit of that lack of quickness if he's not able to impose his will with that strength there. And then just because there's a little bit of athletic limitations, there's some lack of yak that's in his game. He's just not going to be a yards after catch guy. What you see is what you get. When you throw the ball to the spot, you're hoping that he just catches it and comes down with it. That's really what you want. And so it's a little bit of a lower ceiling in terms of that dynamic ability there for him. But love the multi-sport background from him. Love the fact that he's already got a lot of production as an underclassman and through his junior year. Hopefully we just get to see more of it and hopefully more explosive plays for him. Because right now I think it's a really solid baseline. I think he could be, I think that he's an early day 3 wide receiver right now. It's just a matter of, does he crack that top 100? Does he get into the second round? Can he raise his stock a little bit higher if the offense is a little bit more dynamic for him?
Especially, as you mentioned, in that offense that you would think is going to try to push the ball down the field, or at least be willing to throw this year because of who they have under center. And, of course, hopefully their offensive line development allowing them to do that as well. So I didn't get to watch Key, but I am excited to see because you mentioned how Kentucky used them. I'm kind of excited to see if Nebraska goes the same route, and even if they don't, just the fact that he could be a true X.
So did you watch Greathouse?
I did. I watched both Notre Dame wide receivers.
Oh, both? I only watched one. Who's the other one?
They got a transfer coming into their program this year that I think is better.
Who?
Malachi Fields. Virginia.
I also watched Malachi Fields.
Okay.
Sorry.
He's at Notre Dame.
He is. You're right. I totally forgot because I just Virginia. Like I just had in my head Virginia.
And he's been at Virginia for 4 years, I think.
I know.
It is kind of, it's going to be weird.
I didn't. I don't have him ranked above Greathouse.
Interesting. I had it the other way.
He didn't make my top 15.
Okay.
But Malachi was one of those guys where the first game that I watched, I was like, I could see people being much higher on him than I am. And if they are, they'll list a bunch of stuff off of why they like him. And I'll go, all right, yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. I see it. Is he in your top 10? You have him top 10?
He is. He's 9 for me.
Okay.
Yep.
So
it's not like I have him like 3rd, but
let's wait.
Yep.
Let's talk Greathouse first.
Yeah, I want to hear your breakdown on him.
Because I have him 15, and then we do have to talk about Nic Harbor. I have Nic Harbor 17. You had him, what, like 14, 13?
Yeah, right around there. I have
something
13.
Like that. So we do have to have the Nic Harbor conversation.
Have to.
Jaden Greathouse, I have him as slot receiver number 5, overall wide receiver number 15. Man, I wanted to like this guy more. I remember watching him live, and the last 2 games that they played in the college football playoff and in the national championship, he was so clutch for them. And I was like, this dude, I actually, Connor, I remember watching those games live, and we had, at that point in time, that was January. That was January, and I was like, we had done a lot of our wide receiver rankings,
right?
And I said to myself, it's like, damn it, do I have to watch somebody else? Like, is this guy draft eligible?
He's a true sophomore, right?
But he was. Yeah, I looked it up, and he was a true sophomore.
Is impressive.
So I wasn't watching him for last year's class, but so I have him as a slot receiver, and that's where I think he's going to play at the NFL level. 6'1", 210 pounds. So 210 pounds. Normally, when you talk about slot receivers, you talk about guys who are around 180, 185, 190, 195, something like that. He's 210 pounds. I mean, this dude's got some beef to him for a slot receiver. He is dense. There's no doubt about it. 3-star wide receiver in the 2023 recruiting class. Played at Westlake High School, the famed Westlake High School. Multi-sport athlete. Not only did he play football, but he also played basketball. Averaged more than 13 points per game as a junior, by the way, and was a state runner-up during his sophomore season. Won 3 state titles with Westlake. And he was the 2021 state championship offensive MVP, 236 receiving yards, which was a state record for the championship game. So an accomplished high school athlete all around. Started 5 games as a true freshman, started 11 games last year. His mother played basketball at UC Santa Barbara. His father played football at Washington State, and his uncle Oscar played defensive line, is the defensive line coach for the University of Wyoming. So football and athletic ability all over this family. I think that this guy is such a smart wide receiver. And the reason why I think he's a slot is because I think he just lacks the overall athleticism to threaten vertically. I really do. Like, outside of getting space in the slot and being able to hit in between the linebacker and safety levels on those seam passes, outside of that, vertically, you're not going to get him to play on the outside, whether it's on or off the line of scrimmage, and threaten vertically. He's just not going to be that consistent threat. So I don't think that he's going to be an outside wide receiver. Really low separation scores because of that lack of vertical speed and that lack of threat that he puts on those quarterbacks or those cornerbacks and that stress there. But there's a lot to like outside of that. I think he really knows how to attack zone coverages. He knows how to sit down in between zones. Despite being a slot receiver and only 6'1", man, he can climb the ladder and attack the balls in the air. I love when slot receivers are also great contested catch receivers, because when you are playing in the slot, everybody thinks, oh, a slot receiver, a small dude, a super shifty dude, a super explosive dude, but maybe, they're giving up some strength. When they get hit, they'll go flying, whatever. When you play in the slot, you are closer towards the middle of the field.
Yes, traffic.
Guess what's in the middle of the field? Linebackers,
seeking
apex
missiles,
defenders, safeties. All of these dudes are in dropping linebacker or dropping edge rushers. Like, you have to be able to take contact as well. And Jaden Greathouse does that very well. Really reliable hands, elite catching percentages on catchable passes and just contested catches. I mean, this dude, I think, plays at a very high IQ level, plays with more strength than you would expect from a slot receiver. Reminded me a lot of Khalil Shakir and how much Khalil Shakir is having success, because he is not the best vertical. He doesn't have the best vertical speed. He's not a burner. He's not even the shiftiest dude. But man, is he reliable. He's smart. He knows how to get off the line of scrimmage. He knows where to be, and he's going to catch the damn football. And that is Jaden Greathouse as well. So, just limited athlete, but a lot to like outside of that. So this is a player that I kind of wanted to put higher in the rankings. I just couldn't, just because of that athletic limitation that he has.
we haven't watched tight ends and offensive line yet, but
Oh, you got him in tight ends.
But I think he'd be 240. But man, the Fighting Irish skill players, that's a good looking group.
Yeah.
That's a real good looking group. And you got the best back in the country, and you got 2 wide receivers that are physical. Yeah, it's a really good looking group.
Who's quarterback for them this year? I don't even know.
It's so funny. Somebody just asked me this the other day at like a work thing, because obviously NBC, we do a ton of Notre Dame, and I was
CJ Carr.
I had the same freeze. I was like, they didn't make any big splash.
Is he related to Derek Carr?
There's no way.
He is the grandson
of Derek Carr,
of Lloyd Carr, the Michigan legend.
Yeah. Interesting.
Whoa.
Okay.
All right.
I like the heel turn by CJ.
I was gonna say goes to Notre Dame.
I like the heel turn.
The future is now.
Oh man, and he's got the one all around haircut. This guy's a stone cold killer.
Does he?
Yeah, he sits down in the barber chair and just goes one all around.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, you see it.
Okay. Nick Harbor. Are we talking Nick Harbor next?
Sure. Because we have to, because I think perception and reality are just 2 totally different things.
Yeah,
right now.
Go ahead and start. I feel like
I've done. That's a grim open, but sorry. Nick Harbor.
Dalton Wasserman, my co-host at the PFF NFL show, he said that Lenore Sellers and Nick Harbor are first team or preseason first team all in theory. Like all idea
That is the
team.
most disrespectful. Yet,
they are though.
Yet true take. Yet no, it's weird, right? Because I think we are obviously very in the weeds of this, and I think everybody that listens to this show this time of year is too. And I don't tweet as much as I used to, but I definitely will scroll the timeline every now and then. And perception and reality it's fascinating, especially in scouting.
Yeah.
Harbor definitely falls into that bucket off of, and this has been happening since, the dinosaurs were on Earth, where recruiting profiles carry a reputation for you for years. Harbor is 6'5", 236. He might be bigger right now. Like if he's 240 of muscle, I wouldn't be surprised.
He's an alien, man.
He is an alien. He's a true junior, wide receiver at South Carolina, that, to put in perspective, he was a 2-time Gatorade Player of the Year in both football and track. If you do it once in one sport, that is iconic.
They never give it to juniors. They never give it to juniors.
So I think I've told this briefly on the pod, so I won't be long with it. When I worked at Bleacher Report, very, very early on, this is about 9 years ago now, one of my first projects I was involved with was the Gatorade Player of the Year. I'd go out to do some content around it. So I've been to a couple of them around the country. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was seniors every single time.
Every single time.
It's because they want to reward, seniors, understandably.
Of course.
Nick Harbor was a 2-time Gatorade Player of the Year in 2 different sports. Like, do you realize how out of this world you have to be?
There is no way anyone's ever done that before.
I would be.
He has to be the one and only. He has to be the one and only.
So in football, he played obviously offense. I believe he was technically a tight end.
He was a tight end.
A tight end in high school because of his size, but he was also a really good defensive end.
Correct.
Which is going to open another conversation here in a moment.
He was listed as an edge rusher for 247. Right. And even when he committed to South Carolina,
it was not a given.
They didn't know what he was going to play. Yeah.
Right. And obviously in track in DC, he was the record holder for both the 100 and 200. I think he's still the record holder for the 200 as it stands today.
Somebody beat him in the 100?
I went down a long track database and I looked. I could be wrong, but I thought he only showed up in the 200 right now. But either way.
Did you list the times that he ran?
No.
Do you have those offhand?
I don't.
Brother, he's 6'5", over 200 pounds, and he ran a 10.28. What did Tyreek Hill just run? Like 2 weeks ago?
Oh,
like
man.
a 10.15 or something?
Maybe.
Like.
And he's talking about racing Noah Lyles.
You are a fraction off of Tyreek Hill and Noah Lyles
as an oversized high schooler.
6'5", over 220 pounds.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
So what's even more wild, although maybe not surprising, did you read about his father?
No.
Oh, his father's the most... for all of the interesting aspects of Nick Harbor, his size, his speed...
No, his dad was on the U.S. national team, wasn't he?
Yes, his dad played 15 games on the U.S. national soccer team. He was drafted in the MLS, played in the MLS. Do you know what his dad decided to do after soccer?
No.
He's an engineer for NASA. Like these genes are limitless. Nick Harbor might be president one day. I mean, or even bigger. He might cure cancer. I don't know. All I'm saying is that it's out of this world. His father, Azuka, who also, I believe, was working in a lab and wasn't playing soccer, and then was discovered, if I have this right, playing soccer somewhere in like a lower league, like for fun, and ended up in the MLS because he was just so good. And then he was really good. He was on the U.S. national team.
These might be the greatest genes on the planet.
The most gifted human beings of all time.
Yeah. Maybe he left U.S. soccer. Maybe it's like a Superman story. You know, like a Smallville story where it's like, oh, you know,
for
like
the greater
this,
good.
You know, like this alien spaceship crashes onto Earth, and here's this like kid, and then he gets raised by this family, and so maybe his dad's like, oh, I was playing soccer, but I got to join NASA because I got to figure out where this alien kid came from that just ran a 10.28 100-meter dash at 6'5", 225 pounds. Maybe that's what it is.
And shout out to Nick for, while he's, we hope he becomes the football player that we think he can become, and we'll have that convo in a second. He's been SEC all on a roll both years in college
seems
already.
Awesome.
He is incredibly, incredibly bright and hyper aware. And so not only did he get the dad's athletic traits, he got the NASA engineer brains as well, it appears. As a football, go ahead.
Just shout out to Shane Beamer. Like, Shane's got a hell of a program in South Carolina.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, like, dude, the guy. I mean, you talk about. I felt like that was. I felt like South Carolina had the best defensive line in the country last year. They had one of the most talented defenses, especially when you throw in like Jalen Kilgore, Nicky Manwari.
The edge runner, Kyle Kennard.
Kyle Kennard's in there, but like even outside of the defensive line, Demetrius Knight, like Debo Williams, like all of these. I mean, like I felt like they were one of the best defenses in the country, and yet like on the offensive side of the ball, they're getting the craziest freak athlete of all time in Nick Harbor. They've got Lenora Sellers as well. Like it's just they've had Xavier Legette in past years. They have just done. He's done an unbelievable job with that program. So just like South Carolina has been so impressive to me. Like the guys that we have talked about from South Carolina's program over the last couple of years.
Now to the football with Harbor, and it's only been 2 years, so I want to be really careful here because player development, goes in a lot of different directions, and his best football certainly should be ahead of him. Watching him as a wide receiver with his unique combination of size, speed, the catch radius is alien levels. I don't know if I've seen a human with this level of catch radius. He's just not a wide receiver right now. He's a total project. He's sluggish off the line of scrimmage. He's not a good route runner. He doesn't really understand how to attack coverages. He hasn't had a lot of... like last year, he had 26 catches for 376 yards in his sophomore season. He's a total project at wide receiver right now, where it kind of left me sitting there going, should he have been a defensive end? Because he's got the size and traits and length where I hope he breaks out this year, and I hope he really takes off. But as a prospect, why he was outside my top 10 and dangerously close to being outside my top 15. And if I get through more guys by the end of summer, like if I bump these numbers up from 19 to 25, I don't think he'd be in my top 15. He just doesn't know how to play the position right now, Trevor. Right. And it could be tough to watch at times.
Which is understandable, right? Given the fact that you mentioned it. He is only going into his true junior season. And he did not play wide receiver in high school. He played tight end, defensive end.
He played on the line of scrimmage a lot.
This is the first 2 years that he has played wide receiver. And from what I had heard, like when Nick Harbor got to school and when he was like, I want to win the Biletnikoff Award and I want to be a wide receiver. They were like, oh, well, okay, all right, well, yeah. Well, I mean, we can teach you how to do that, but like this is massive learning years from him. I mean, the strength and weaknesses is basically all of the strength categories are physical gifts, and all of the weaknesses are the actual production part of things so far. Like, I'll just quickly list them off. Strengths: no false steps out of his stance, extremely impressive first step explosiveness. Top speed, size combination, truly rare, even for the NFL level. Change of direction and fluidity is way better than you'd expect for a player of his size. Massive catch radius, okay? That's the strengths. Weaknesses: doesn't look very natural as a wide receiver right now during his underclassmen years. Route tree is very vertical and basic. He rounds all of his breaks as well, so there's not a lot of sharp separation. Doesn't dominate blocking the way that you would want him to. Low separation scores despite the athleticism in both 2023 and 2024 versus single coverage. Low yards after catch production averages as well, like with that athleticism that you have. And hands need to be more active when he's clearing defenders, and he just needs to be more conscious of his technique to stay clean. So a lot of playing the wide receiver position, it's hard right now because when you look at Nick Harbor, it's basically like, hey, you're big, you got big length, just run in a straight line. And right now, I think that when people watch him and they look at the athleticism, I think the most common comp that you're going to hear is Kyle Pitts. That's the most common comp that you're going to have because the only other ones is like Calvin Johnson, and nobody's going to do Calvin Johnson.
Well, people want him to be DK Metcalf is what they want.
But he is not nearly as strong as DK Metcalf.
No.
And he does not play with nearly as much strength there. The Kyle Pitts potential is there, but he's not the Florida version of Kyle Pitts. And like, let alone sort of a little bit disappointing of what we have seen at the NFL level from Kyle Pitts.
Right.
He is closer to what Hakeem Butler was coming out of Iowa State.
Wow, I wasn't ready for that.
He is.
No, I'm not clowning it. It's just I haven't heard Hakeem Butler reference in quite some time.
Because I liked Hakeem Butler a lot when he was coming out of Iowa State. But that was whatever it was, I think 5-6 years ago. And I was not in tune to the fact that you have to be more detailed as a football player to win in the NFL.
He couldn't get off the line of scrimmage either.
He couldn't get off the line of scrimmage, and nothing worked for him beyond running fast vertically
jump over people for the ball
from the slot. That was basically it. And the NFL went, okay, we're going to put somebody on the line of scrimmage. They're going to press the crap out of you. You're never going to be able to get off of it, and then you're not going to beat the safety deep. And now he is what league is it? UFL? UFL. Now he's kind of like now he's like a UFL legend. Like, now he's playing well.
Yeah, because you could do the same thing.
And he's gotten better. I think that he has gotten better as a wide receiver, but it has taken him time. And so that's the Nick Harbor conversation is like he is closer to Hakeem Butler right now than he is Kyle Pitts. And I just think you're going to hear a lot of people want to compare him to Kyle Pitts and DK. I don't even think he's close to DK Metcalf. He didn't even play the same as DK Metcalf does. So I'm not even, that's not even the conversation. They may have the same numbers on the scale, maybe some similar measurables here. DK plays a totally different game than Nick Harbor does. So if you're going to compare him to anybody that's like a high potential player, it'd be Kyle Pitts, who was a tight end who went number 4 overall. But he is so far away from that. Not that he can't get there, and I hope we see some damn close flashes because he's going to be a fun player if he continues to evolve and figure it out. But he's not there yet. And unfortunately, as much as we in summer scouting project players getting better, what a lot of people are saying about Nick Harbor being a top 15 overall pick, that's not projecting him to get better. That is a triple jump. Like, that is a leap and beyond from what his tape currently is. So I'm not trying to be overly negative on the kid. I know that you're not either. No. I think he's got all the talent in the world.
I want him to be a pass rusher.
Let's see it.
I'm going to be honest.
Some people.
I'm serious. I really do. I'm like excited. I'm like, man, one more down year. I might have my wish.
The problem is that I actually agree with you. And I think that
Thanks.
That's, well, it creates a reality where worst case scenario might happen. Yeah. Where he plays wide receiver for 3 or 4 years. People go, okay, it's not working out. And now you are asking him to play edge rusher for the first time since high school. And you are resetting the timeline again for him. And then you're probably
Right.
having to ask him to gain a ton of weight very quickly to play on the defensive line. So it's like, I hear what you're saying, but I even thought of that myself. I almost was like, do I just say that I want this guy to play defense? But unfortunately, that reality could kind of suck if that ends up happening. Or maybe he'll just be the trenches version of Travis Hunter. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know? Maybe just play both.
Never know.
Okay. Top 10s?
Yes. Top 10.
10 through 6?
10 through 6. 10 for me is Kevin Concepcion, who is now at Texas A&M from NC State.
Okay.
9, the previously mentioned Malachi Fields, who is now at Notre Dame from Virginia.
All right.
8, Antonio Williams out of Clemson. 7, Nic Anderson, who is now at LSU from Oklahoma. And 6, maybe my favorite player of this group. Not the best. My favorite player, though, from this group, Eric Rivers, who is now at Georgia Tech from FIU.
I didn't watch this play.
I freaking love Eric Rivers.
What?
Yeah,
He's your favorite player?
This was my, like, how far can I shoot this bow and arrow?
What?
Because he transferred up, obviously, from FIU to Georgia Tech, and he might just do nothing with the level of competition increase. He also just might continue to be a superstar.
So they're replacing Eric Singleton with him,
right? Which is hilarious because Eric Singleton is number 5 for me.
Okay, so you are much higher on Singleton and Concepcion than I am.
Okay. I could see that with Singleton. We'll talk about him when we get to the top 5s, or we'll see. But you want to hear about Rivers first, just because I kind of hyped him up?
Yes, I'm dying to. I'm looking up his PFF numbers because saying that to me means it means a lot. So go ahead. Talk to me.
He is such a fun watch. He's a redshirt senior. He's 5'11", 175. I think he hopefully has gained some weight. And you know me, I don't like small receivers at all.
You got a 5'11", 175 redshirt senior at 6?
Dude. Nobody last year could match this guy's movements or run with him.
Okay.
He was FIU's Jalen Waddle. Literally. When you watch him, it was just twitchy, fast, constantly got over the top of the defense. Listen to the story first. Last year, 62 catches, 1,172 receiving yards, and 12 touchdowns. I think he was one of the first All-American for FIU. Now there's different All-American, statuses handed out, but he was recognized for the special season he had last year.
Okay.
According to the internet, he walked on, and you should always believe the internet. His path makes no sense to me.
Uh-huh.
He walked on at Memphis as a DB, played special teams as a freshman. He had to redshirt his sophomore year because he had a shoulder injury. Then he left and walked on FIU as a wide receiver in 2023. So this guy nobody has ever thought anything of this human being.
Except for you.
Except for me. Although, to be fair, he had almost 1,200 yards last year. I didn't see a corner that could match him in 2024. Had no answer for him. And then the best part is when they would throw him the ball underneath, the would-be tackler angles are hilarious. Watching safeties run through their brain of do I overcommit to the sideline or do I crash down in the middle of the field? You ran by me anyway. Again. His catching on opportunities were silly. And one of the reasons I really am buying in, now, yes, he's wide receiver 6 for me. This is a leap of faith. This is somebody that there's a world where he's not drafted next year. He was 96th percentile in the country in yards per route run last year. Yards per route run is one of the most important data points when evaluating wide receivers and converting it to tape watching. Mm-hmm. This guy is legitimately a 3-level winner at wide receiver because of his speed and his movements and his control of his speed. He's got the slender body, which really, really scares me. But if he can get up to a 180, 185, keep the speed, keep the movements, I am a little cautious about, him going to Georgia Tech. We'll see. It's not an offense where I'm just saying it's 100% gonna work. But Trevor, this guy's film last year is silly. It is silly.
Eric, have you ever heard of Little Caesars Hot and Ready Pizza?
Fire and steroids.
because we could teach you. We could teach you plenty about it. We can get you. We can get you up to 180, 185 real easy. Dude, I cannot wait to watch this player. Just from the way that you talked about him. There are a handful of guys in this class. I think you having Concepcion in your top 10, having Singleton in your top 10, that makes sense that you would have this player also in your top 10. Because for as much as we talked about, this wide receiver class being deep, and we talked about it at the very top of the show, I was curious as to which traits you were going to lean into more versus what I was going to lean into more. And very clearly, like, for a couple of those guys, like Concepcion, smaller size. Eric Singleton, smaller size. Eric Rivers, smaller size, but very twitchy players. Guys who you could very easily see creating separation on a variety of different routes, basically for a variety of different offenses. So I can see why you would lean in to these players, and I can't wait to watch them.
I become a caveman at this point where you either got to be really big and physical or really freaking fast and twitchy. Yeah. And if you aren't either of those things, I just don't really value you at the position the way that some evaluators will talk themselves into, because the guys that are just guys are how you miss so often at this position. So if you're small, which is, I really don't like small receivers, you got to be freakish in the way you move and really challenge the defense with and without the ball. You'll notice a trend. Like, my top 4 wide receivers all have some form of size.
Did you watch Deion Burks?
No, I didn't. And he was the last guy I really wanted to get to. Yeah.
He is the guy of all of the names that we have said here, the one that I like the most, who we are getting to still in my top 10. He's awesome. And, he's of that mold, and I like him the most out of all those guys. So, I'll watch
he's a
Rivers.
Mover over physicality.
A smaller guy, but a dude who wins in the ways that you are leaning towards that you like to win. So, I got to watch Rivers. You got to watch Burks. Okay, really quick. Your 10 to 6. Who was again?
My 10, Concepcion was 10. Yep. Malachi Fields was 9. Antonio Williams from Clemson, who is really interesting in terms of, trajectory and stuff. He was 7 or 8.
Okay.
Number 7, I love Nic Anderson, who's at LSU now.
Yeah.
But from Oklahoma. You want to talk about a size, speed, vertical guy?
I have him at 10, so we can talk about Nic Anderson.
Yeah. Nic Anderson, if he doesn't get hurt last year, I kind of wonder how we look at him in this group, quite honestly. Because when you turn back the clock and watch the film from 2 years ago, Nic Anderson is 6'4", 210 pounds. He, last year, missed pretty much most of the year with a quad injury. Mm-hmm. The year before that, which was his freshman season, I want to say? Or redshirt freshman season?
Redshirt freshman season, yep.
38 catches for almost 800 yards. He averaged 21 yards per catch with 10 touchdowns.
Yeah.
It's silly. Yeah. He's just a big target. His strides chew up so much ground in his routes that as soon as you turn on the tape, the first play, you know exactly who he is. You wouldn't. I could say that sentence to you and not give you the number or not tell you his alignment, and you'd find him on the first play.
Yeah.
Big frame. I love how he plowed through corners trying to jam him. And this is a redshirt freshman.
Yeah.
Corners tried to get hands on him, and he plowed through them. Double moves, lethal, because he uses the build-up speed with the double move, and corners, if you hesitate or bite the wrong way, you're dead. You're dead in the water. He had 60 targets in 2023, right? Redshirt freshman, you're not going to get an 80 to 100 target season. He had 60 targets. He generated 22 explosive plays, 15-plus yard plays on 60 targets. That means more than 1 out of every 3 times the ball came his way, it was a 15-plus yard play. That is absurd for a redshirt freshman. So, the drop rate is a little concerning. He had a 7th percentile drop rate in 2023. The injury last year, the releases can be a little long and clunky at times, but you just want that size, speed, get over the top of the defense. I think this guy could be, with Nussmeier, ooh, baby. I think this guy could be a star this year.
No, he can get over 1,000 yards this year with Nussmeier very easily. I think that is absolutely within the cards for him, and I'm excited to see him play. I liked him a little bit last year as well. This is Rodney Anderson's brother, the Oklahoma running back, who I loved Rodney Anderson. He just ended up having knee injuries. It was a big reason why his NFL career didn't work out. But, dude, at one point I had Rodney Anderson. I don't even remember which draft class it was. I had him RB1. Like, I thought his brother was awesome. His other brother, Ryder, also played defensive back, played for the New Orleans Saints. And his uncle, Mark, played as a defensive end as well. So you mentioned some of the background of him when he was at Oklahoma. He was a 110-meter hurdle guy for the track team, which does make sense when you look at kind of like how he's able to gallop and just that it feels like springy athleticism he sometimes showcases with that longer, more slender frame. But the long strides are great when getting vertical. You mentioned, I think he's got those active hands to stay clean off of press coverage. Sometimes, just because of the more slender build, I saw him get pushed around a little bit when blocking, but like when getting past defenders, I feel like he certainly had the adequate hand strength and just upper body strength to be able to do that. And I will say, like, even though I saw him get bodied sometimes when he was blocking, like, he is a willing and competitive blocker.
Yes,
like,
he's a physical player.
This is a competitive wide receiver, and that is competitive toughness is a trait that you're going to hear every single NFL team and coach want to gravitate towards. So I did like Nic Anderson as well. We've only seen him, like you said, basically as a redshirt freshman, so it's hard to judge the tape too much. He had too many drops and didn't have a high enough contested catch percentage of which we need to see from him, but he could certainly have it this year. So I had him as X receiver number 4, and I had him as wide receiver 10 here in this draft. You should talk about Fields. Because I have him outside of my top 15, but you have him right at number 9. So,
I had him at 9.
Talk about Fields, the other Notre Dame wide receiver, and then I think we'll get into a couple of these other guys.
So Fields is 6'4", 220, which is like he's every bit of it. There's a world where if he's playing at 225 this year, I'd be like, yeah, I believe you. The last 2 years for Virginia, he's been insanely productive for them. Former 3-star recruit. In high school, he played quarterback, cornerback, and returned kicks.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you're big and athletic, coming out of high school. Now you're going to play wide receiver. And it worked.
And yet I think all of his offers were for wide receiver.
It makes sense. In 2023, he's been the same guy for 2 years now. 2023, 58 catches, 811 yards, 5 touchdowns. 2024, 55 catches, 808 yards, 5 touchdowns. Kind of insane that the only difference between his last 2 seasons is 3 catches and 3 yards. Like, he's literally cloned his last 2 seasons.
Same guy.
That is pretty... So what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
I'll start with the good. He's tall, he's wide, he's muscled up, and he was a team captain. So this is somebody that clearly takes the weight room very seriously, has an NFL body, and has NFL leadership skills. He uses his upper body to shield defenders, like to win the football. It's almost like a basketball player boxing out for a rebound. He understands how to shield coverage to take the football away. His compete level as a blocker is excellent. There are so many examples of him dumping guys, driving them to the sideline. He's a team guy, and he's not just a team guy where he's a college overachiever. He looks every bit of an NFL player. So with NFL strength. This is why I understand you not having him in the top 15. And why, unfortunately, he could fall. These are reasons he could fall for me. The routes are just based on strength and power. There's not like finesse and elusiveness in his routes.
Yep.
There's not a lot of drops on film, but he's oddly not a consistent, fluid pass catcher. There's some double clutching. You know what I mean? Where it's like, it was weird. Like, if you looked at the drop rate, it's like he catches the ball, but you watch film after film of him, and you're like, it's never always an easy road.
His numbers, you're right, his numbers aren't bad.
No.
But you watch the film and you don't feel as good about it. I will fully admit, I have him outside of my top 15. I'm sort of, like, I obviously wrote his scouting report and everything. He's going to be in the mock draft simulator. You guys will be able to see all my thoughts in there as well. But, like, I don't really know what to do with him. I'm kind of just like, okay, give me another year, because I don't exactly know what to do with him, because you mentioned the blocking, right? Look at the blocking. Very competitive blocker. He has some blocks where he is just engulfing safeties or corners. Like, they got no prayer to get off of him. And yet, there were so many times where I was asking him to attack the ball in the air more. It's like, dude, that's your calling card.
He waits a lot for it.
Go up and get, you are such an alpha when you are blocking. Be an alpha going to the football. There were also, you mentioned the routes. There were, I can't remember which game I watched first. I can't remember which game this exactly was. But the first game that I watched of him, he had no twitchiness or suddenness getting off the line of scrimmage. And I was like, okay, you're when I watched that game, I said to myself, you're going to be a contested catch wide receiver at the NFL level. And then I didn't see him attack the ball in the air with the true, relentlessness that I wanted to see from him. And so I was like, but the separation scores aren't as bad as you think for a player of his size.
You know who you want him to be?
Numbers aren't bad.
I'll tell you who you want him to be. And it's funny, they've had very similar roads. And this player has been, yeah, I'd love that.
I'd love for him to be Calvin Johnson.
Jerry Rice and Randy Moss in one player. And it's funny because this player has been way better than anyone expected. He went in the 7th round. Juwan Jennings.
I'd love for him to be Juwan Jennings.
But look at Juwan Jennings. They're we look at Juwan Jennings now, especially the fantasy community having their mitts on him. Juwan Jennings. He could be the number 1 wide receiver for the 49ers this year. But turn back the clock. Juwan Jennings was a high school quarterback, converted to wide receiver at Tennessee. That was a big, tough guy. That was stiff. It wasn't always pretty on tape. Ran a 4.72 and jumped 29 inches in the vertical before the draft. And it just worked for him at the NFL level. There's nothing in his athletic profile that tells you Juwan Jennings should be an effective NFL wide receiver. And I'm not saying Fields is going to be Juwan Jennings because that's ridiculous to bet on that. But with his transfer to Notre Dame, I think that's exactly the kind of player you want him to be.
I actually have Juwan Jennings as an early comp for a different player that we haven't talked about yet.
Okay.
Do you want me to just say him?
Yeah.
I guess we can because he's in my next group and he was in your first group.
Oh.
I have that for Elijah Sarratt.
Sarratt, yeah. Sarratt is a good player that kind of like Fields. The last bullet point in the scouting report to me is is he going to run away from anyone at the next level?
He's not. But that's why. But he everything else he does.
Yeah.
He does exactly what you want for a possession wide receiver.
Yep.
Highly competitive player. You watch 2 games of him, and he is chirping at defensive.
That was Pat Bryant
defensive backs
this year.
I almost put Pat Bryant.
That's
for him,
who Pat Bryant was this year.
And so I think Pat Bryant's also a really good comp for him. So I have Elijah Sarratt as 7. So okay, for my 10, and then we'll go back to it. 10 for me is Nic Anderson. 9 for me is Carnell Tate, who I thought I was going to be a little bit higher on.
9 for Carnell Tate.
I know, and
you despise him,
dude. I thought I was going to be higher on him.
Yeah, listen, it's not egregious.
So we'll talk about him in a second. Did you watch Chase Roberts from BYU?
I did not.
I have Chase Roberts at 8.
Okay.
Chase Roberts is my Eric Rivers Jr.
Yeah.
And he's not built. It is the complete opposite scouting report. But you having Rivers at 6 and me having Chase Roberts at 8. So I have Roberts at 8, and then I have Elijah Sarratt at 7, and then I have Deion Burks at number 6, so we can talk about it a little bit. But just let's go back to Elijah Sarratt. I have Sarratt as my number 2 X receiver. And he is a senior in Indiana. He, like many players who are currently at Indiana, started their careers, or he didn't start his career, actually. His journey is actually a lot longer than that. 0-star wide receiver in the 2022 recruiting class. He played wide receiver and defensive back and returned punts in high school. He also played basketball in high school. He committed to St. Francis University, which, is it like a D2 school? I actually don't even know this.
It is FCS level.
He's a 0-star recruit.
Yeah.
So he played 1 year there, and then he transferred over to James Madison, where Curt Cignetti was,
of course,
previously. He started 10 games for Cignetti, and then he transferred over to Indiana, like many JMU players. When Cignetti went over to Indiana,
everybody.
He transferred over, and he started all 13 games last year for him. And brother, this dude rules. He's a senior, so this is his last year. He's 6'2", so he's 67th percentile, 209 pounds, 68th percentile. But he is a true on the line of script. I'm just going to read you my scouting summary because I think that's the best way to do it. Sarratt is an alpha type of X receiver. His competitive toughness jumps off the screen when you are watching his film. He is a high-energy player who does all of the quote-unquote big receiver things that you want him to do. He dominates at the catch point, he dominates through contact, and he's good in the blocking game. His separation scores are low, and that won't change in the NFL. But it's hard to watch this guy and not want him on your football team. He is another guy who is limited athletically, but the contested catch percentage has been consistently over 50% his entire career. He is so impressive with the above the rim catches. You know, I want Malachi Fields to go up and get it. I've never once been like, I think Elijah Sarratt should have gone up and climbed the ladder and gone to get it, because I'll watch it happen. I don't have to think about it. Every single time he attacks the ball in the air, and just I don't know anything about the kid. Obviously, like, haven't sat down and interviewed him or anything like that. But I have a hard time watching his film and thinking that coaches aren't going to go, oh, yes, this dude, get this kid on our NFL team. So a lot of the pluses of sort of like how you're seeing Fields, like that is how I see Sarratt. And it's funny that I have Fields right outside of my top 15. I think you had Sarratt like barely in your top 15. And so we just kind of like flipped.
No, Sarratt was 12 for me.
Oh, okay. He was 12 for you. So I'm so in on this player. I try to not bet on guys who aren't great athletes, but this dude's awesome. I want to believe in him. He's my guy. So
yeah, he's that my biggest. I had a lot of strengths for him, man. Like he is the most fearless player in this group of going over the middle of the field by far. Number one at that. Contested catch rate was super high, 16 at 27. I thought he had a good understanding of how to improvise during the scramble drill. He could he could dig out low throws. He can climb the ladder on high throws. It's just he's not explosive. He doesn't have good top speed. He's never going to be a high-end separator, but like hopefully Pat Bryant's like this at the NFL level. The NFL is telling you where they drafted him. They think he can be. You just got to be an outlier with that and play in traffic, play through tough traffic areas. Not play in traffic.
Go play.
Oh, man. Oh, boy. Go play in traffic.
You just got, if you can dodge your ends, you can dodge traffic, you can dodge a ball.
Oh, God. It's, I'm really, this podcast is, this is like the big thing I do this time of year. I do the Mets pod, but we go for like 50 minutes. And there's 8 million baseball games, so you blink and the pod's over. This is the one thing I do this time of year where I actually have to like turn my brain back on. And you could really tell. You could really tell.
Oh, that's beautiful. I needed that. That was amazing.
NFL Stock Exchange, go play in traffic.
Go play in traffic. So, is there somebody else you needed to talk about in the top 10?
Well, you were a little surprised by Concepcion.
Yes, you talk about Concepcion.
Do you have Antonio Williams in your top 5?
Yeah, I have 5. He rules. Yeah, he rules.
Okay.
Awesome.
Concepcion, I'll be quick on. He's such a fascinating player because, like Nic Anderson, you kind of just throw out 2024, and we're not throw it out because he played. Anderson was hurt, but I don't know what happened to him. He had an incredible freshman season in 2023 for NC State. Mm-hmm. To put in perspective, he had 71 catches, 839 receiving yards. He caught 10 touchdowns. He had 41 carries, 320 rushing yards, and he threw a touchdown. He was just a Percy Harvin kind of player in this offense. They legitimately used him out of the backfield, and he was good at it. His burst was phenomenal. He averaged almost 8 yards per carry. Mm-hmm. So I don't think this is just a wide receiver. If I had Concepcion in my offense, and I think this is why A&M went out and got him, 5'11", 187. So he's got the body to take on running back touches. If you're already 187 and he's a junior right now, I think he'll get bigger. He's just a dynamic weapon. You just want the ball in his hands. I thought his ability to create yards stood out to me. Quick, shifty, really good from the slot, really good from the backfield. Drop rate was a little higher than I'd like. I don't know why the production fell off in 2024. It felt like all the great ideas they had for him that made him a standout freshman in 2023 just started to evaporate last year, and I'm willing for now to blame the offense and see if A&M can kind of regain that magic with him.
Yeah, he's an extremely versatile player. And I think that he has a little bit, like, he reminded me, you said Percy Harvin, like, he reminded me of more of like a Tavon Austin. I know that's, I know that name is legend around here, you know, with the highlight film is the meme and everything like that. But like, you got to kind of think of like what Tavon Austin was in the NFL. Like, he was this ultimate versatility running back / wide receiver who was unstoppable at West Virginia. And then when he gets to the NFL, it's like, okay, well, there's so very few players that are that. And I just don't think that Austin, who was fine, I think he had a handful of like really nice years in the NFL, it was fine years in the NFL. Like, he wasn't that same player. And so when I look at Concepcion, that's kind of the sort of player that I see in 2024 specifically. Well, he had 13 drops over the course of the first 2 seasons, which I do not love.
The drop rate's a problem.
I think the biggest issue for him and why he wasn't as productive in 2024 as 2023, I think he needs, you know how we talk about pass rush plans for defenders? I think he needs more of a yak plan sometimes, which is kind of crazy to say given the 2023 film, because it looked like he was a yak king. But when I watched him in 2024, it was almost like he was getting to defenders and then he didn't really know what to do. Like, he'd start doing the thing that everybody does, like when they're playing on the playground, where they just like start to chop their feet a little bit, but they don't. There's not really a purpose to it, and then they just get tackled. And I feel like I saw that way too many times with a guy who could have very well stutter stepped once, put your foot in the ground, boom, now you're making the guy miss.
Well, as a running back, he's really good at that.
He was in 2023 for sure, because I watched a couple of games in 2023.
Yeah, the 2023 running back touches, I was like, damn. I guess the reason I have a little more hope for him is like Tavon Austin was 5'8", 174. I think this guy's he's listed 5'11", even if he's 5'10", I think he's going to play at 190.
Yeah, so which is better.
And he's getting a new chance at A&M. Let's see.
He's in A&M this year, so it's like if he looks the part at both positions in the SEC, like, yeah, you got to believe in him there. I will touch on Chase Roberts really quick. I did not know anything about this player. And in fact, he's a redshirt senior who was in the 2019 recruiting class. So
did he go on a mission?
He did.
Yeah.
So when I saw those things, I was like, okay, I'm going to have this guy ranked, what, 22nd, 23rd? Nope, got him 8th. So he's 6'4", 210 pounds, which is 91st percentile and 70th percentile for the position. He's a 3-star wide receiver. He committed to BYU from 2019 to 2021. He was on a church mission to Alberta, Canada. So he didn't play at all during those years. In 2022, he played in 11 games with 3 starts. In 2023, started 11 times. And then last year, he started in all 13 games for BYU. His dad also played defensive back for BYU in the early 1990s. Connor, I think... So I will admit this. I started with the Wyoming game. I watched him play against Wyoming, and I went, this guy getting drafted top 50? Like, what? Like, what did I just watch? I watched a player who was so much more fluid than 6'4", 210-pound wide receivers are supposed to be. I watched a guy who was well beyond his years with nuance when it came to release packages off the line of scrimmage, setting up defenders to attack leverage as best as he possibly can, either taking advantage of outside leverage on in-breaking routes or, outside leverage versus in-breaking routes, or inside leverage versus outside breaking routes, or if he knew that he had to go inside and the corner was playing inside leverage on him, he would basically chew up all the space, get right in between him, attack him, get the defender's hips even to totally take away the leverage, and then boom, and then he goes inside. So it's like, I'm watching him, I was like, dude, you've been in the NFL for 3 or 4 years? What am I watching here? He is excellent at tempoing his routes to find that soft spot in the zone, find those throwing windows, everything that he needs to find. He is so fundamentally sound as a football player. And I'm not kidding. I watched that Wyoming game, and I said to myself, I have to watch at least 2 or 3 more games of him, because there's no way they all look like that, and we haven't heard about this guy yet. So the other games, not as dominant, but still, a lot of the traits were there. Now, some negatives for him. really low yards after catch percentages throughout his career. It's just not really a part of his game. He allows the ball into his body more than I would like. You know, when we talk about bigger wide receivers, you have a big catch radius, and a big catch radius is not just for giant one-handed catches that are spectacular catches. They are also for, as the ball is coming to you, reach out, catch the football, extend the arms. Don't let it come into the body, because if you are used to letting it come into the body, one, you have to deal with the ricochet of it bouncing off your pads and your chest, that you have to get good with the timing of that. And also, the more you let it come into your body, the more time that you give the defenders to get their hands in there and to disrupt it in a different way. So I want him to attack the ball in the air a little bit more. And I think he's got good potential as a blocker, but sometimes he's slow to move his feet, and that's where we see the holding penalties and things like that come up. But dude, I just, the wisdom of how he plays the position and the way in which he moves at 6'4", 210 pounds was awesome to me. So much so that I couldn't even keep him out of my top 10. I got him at number 8.
Yeah, I got to get eyes on him, because obviously that's pretty jarring performance against Wyoming. And I know he, like you said, he didn't replicate that. I think did you also mention? I think he had a game winner against Baylor. Right? He had some moments last year.
Yes.
But
yes.
Yeah. So definitely got to get eyes on him. And listen, BYU, we've seen wide receivers come out of there and not put up 1,000 yards, and they end up all right. So
last guy in my top 5 before we move into just the overall top 5, because I have Antonio Williams right in my top 5. He's right outside for you. So we can start with Antonio Williams, and we can go to Carnell, Tate, and we can talk about a couple of those other guys. But Deion Burks, the wide receiver from Oklahoma, is somebody that I just want to touch on really quick. Redshirt senior this year. I have him listed as a slot receiver. He is my number 3 slot receiver behind Antonio Williams, and a player to be named a little bit later in this episode. Deion Burks is 5'9", 181 pounds, so he's a little bit smaller, certainly. 3-star wide receiver in the 2021 class, ran track in high school, originally committed to play at Purdue, played in 4 games and redshirted his first year. Only started in 1 game in 2022, started all 12 games in 2023. Then he transferred over to Oklahoma for 2024. He played in only 5 games last year and missed the rest due to concussion issues and a thigh contusion. He has very high athleticism scores. In-game athleticism scores is a metric that we track at PFF. He was consistently above the 90th and 95th percentile in those. That translates into very good separation scores as well, including against single coverage. Very quick footwork, experienced and adequate as a wide receiver who you were giving handoffs to outside of or in the backfield. So he can be a slot, but he can also be that Z flanker motion type of receiver for you. When he makes catches, even though he's got a smaller catch radius, they are often fully extended hands, which he is attacking the football in the air. He has the heart for pass blocking and the pride for pass blocking, though he gives up a little bit of size there, and that goes into how he gets off press coverage as well, so that's a little bit of an issue for him. He was number 50 on Bruce Feldman's freak list in 2024. And you talk about a reason why he is the small guy, quote unquote, that I am willing to bet on this year. Feldman had this to say about him in 2024. The 5'9", 190-pound junior from Michigan was excellent for the Sooners. Burks proved to be their strongest wide receiver in the squad at 540 pounds. The bench press at 400 pounds. He's a $181, Connor, and he benched 400.
I gotta see it.
Also power. I don't blame you. Also power clean
We've
to
been
340.
lied to before. I've been broken too many times. This guy ran a 1.34 3-cone.
This is.
I believe it though. I believe.
Keep going here from Feldman. He also topped all receivers. In jump height, measured in forced plates off of his velocity at takeoff. Burks's propulsive force was remarkable. Is that another pause? I don't know. In terms of his ability
to
generate force nearly 4 times his body weight in a vertical jump. So Feldman just classifying how athletic this guy is. You got to get eyes on him. I think that he's excellent. He's a Mecole Hardman type of a wide receiver, and Mecole Hardman has been somebody who has been utilized heavily, certainly with the Kansas City Chiefs offense, but somebody who's been able to turn strength and speed into production at the NFL level. So Deion Burks, man, really love him. And of these smaller wide receivers, he's the one that I want to bet on, given the fact that his dog is also like immeasurable. immeasurable how much heart this guy has and how much he plays with. The attitude that he plays with, the pride that he plays with, the energy he plays with. Again, a competitive toughness box checker, in my opinion. So, Deion Burks. All right, before we get to the guys in our top five, I got to talk to all the parents out there. Ask them a question. What does your child's future success look like for you? Maybe it is them traveling the world. Maybe it's them owning their own business. Maybe it's just them living in their own house with their family, comfortable as they possibly can be. Whatever that is, you can help them achieve that with a kids investment account from Fabric by Gerber Life. Fabric by Gerber Life was designed by parents for parents to make it easy to plan for and manage your family's financial path. Kids can't invest while they're minors, but you can invest on their behalf with this kids investment account. The whole thing is online, starts just $20, no contribution limits to it. It's got tax advantages, funds are SIPC insured up to $500,000, and you manage the whole thing right from your phone. Funds can be used for anything. It doesn't have to be like when they're older, even when they're younger. If you put some money away, you're helping them with buying their first house, starting that business, getting their first car, whatever that is. Or maybe when they're younger, it's sports, it's music lessons, it's tuition, things like that. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family and start investing in your child's future today. At meetfabric.com/stock exchange, meetfabric.com/stock exchange. The portfolios are managed by Fort Washington Investment Advisors Incorporated. Additional services provided by Apex Clearing Corporation. All investing is subject to risk. Learn more at meetfabric.com. All right, Antonio Williams time from Clemson?
I think it is Antonio Williams time.
All right, where'd you
I
have
had
him?
8th. You had him 5th?
I got him 5. Yep.
Okay. So...
Can I shout out Sam Newman, who
yes,
is a good friend of the pod, works for Awful Announcing. Helped work on the Awful Announcing article that features both of us and NFLSC. Also, a fellow wing connoisseur. I've gotten some wings with Sam.
Fellow Mets fan. Sam checks a lot of boxes, and
he does.
He's a big Clemson guy.
The reason why I'm bringing him up is because he's a big Clemson guy, and I remember last year he's like, "Hey, I know he's not draft eligible yet, but have you watched Antonio Williams?" And at the time, I had not. Now I have. Sam. He is in my top 5. So you can love me more than Connor. It's fine. Yes. Connor's got him at 8. I got him at 5. So just remember that when you're picking favorites here on the podcast. But Connor, talk to me about Antonio Williams.
I mean, he's really, really shifty, twitchy. His ability to generate that short area separation from both the inside and outside stands out. He's coming off a season where he had 75 catches for 904 yards and 11 touchdowns. Coming off a year in 2023 where a foot injury cost him most of the year. And in 2022 as a freshman, he had 56 catches for over 600 yards. So this is a former top 100 overall recruit, standout season in terms of expectations as a freshman. Lost all that momentum because of the injury in 2023 and started to gain it back last year. And, him and Cade Klubnik are growing together, which is really, really important for these guys. So he's somebody that, in my opinion, you can see how, easy it is for him to separate in the short area. I like that he was willing to work through contact to win the ball. And it's not all, contested or contact kind of catches are not all created the same. He's more of a guy that'll work through those congested areas, and with arms chopping at him or punching through him, he's willing to go get the ball. The quick cuts he has, he makes the first tackler miss a lot in space. That's a really, really important thing for his game, is that when he separates in the short area and the ball is on time, if he's in space against a tackler in one-on-one, he often wins that battle. And last year, he averaged 10 yards on 17 punt returns. He is a really, really good punt returner. Where I have some questions for a number one wide receiver, which is what he'll be projected to, you hope he's projected to be, he isn't the biggest guy. He might not play on the outside as much at the next level. He might play more in the slot. I know he does both right now. He had 8 drops last year, 27th percentile drop rate. You'd like to see that drop rate cleaned up. Just a couple layups and concentration drops. And, going back to how good of a short area separator he is, the problem is that's his game right now. And I don't think he's really fast. I think he's really quick. Mm-hmm. He had 28th percentile average depth of target, but only a 25th percentile yard after catch per reception. So while he makes the first guy miss, he's not really that fast. Mm-hmm. So he's not this guy that he makes a guy miss and he sticks his foot in the ground and you blink and it's like, oh boy, there goes 30 to 60 yards again. So I don't know. He's in the good range right now. I have questions if he could be a great wide receiver prospect.
So I've got him at 5. He's listed at 5'11", 195.
I didn't think he looked that size at all.
I think he looks big. I could believe the 195. I think he's firmly between 190, 195. Now, like the height, I don't know. Schools lie about height
this
all the
is
time.
for all
so
these
who
guys.
knows?
Yes,
but I do think that he's bigger. I think he's at least more dense. Like I think he's got some muscle to him. I really do. You mentioned it. I mean, this guy's potential as a route runner, because of how quick his cuts are. I mean, for one, he is an out route aficionado.
Right.
Like they will align him in the slot, and if you are playing inside leverage and the outside wide receiver, like the one is it's a clear out route, and whatever the defenders are running, like if they're running any sort of vertical, okay, I'm matching this player and I'm carrying. I mean, shoot, man, even if the interior slot defender has outside leverage against him, he will at an angle chew up all the space and then boom, just flip the hips as fast as possible. And as that ball's coming out pretty quickly with good timing with Cade Klubnik, who you mentioned is his quarterback, I mean, even that was it felt so unstoppable. This is somebody who, you're right, I wish the yards after catch numbers were a little bit higher for him. But this is a player where I can envision him being a high volume guy at the NFL level,
right?
Where he can have 5 to 9 catches every single week, and he's going off anywhere from 60 to 120 yards or something. And I feel like that's like well within what he can bring to the table as a consistent player because of how well he moves, because of how explosive his change of direction stuff is. And maybe there can be more yak stuff in there. And I think that could be possible with how much he makes guys miss.
Kind of like JSN a little bit.
Like, I feel like Josh Downs is somebody
I was going to go with Downs first, but then I remembered how light Downs was. But
yes.
But the style, Downs was always more quick than fast. Always.
Right.
And he was a good punt returner.
Right.
So, yes, play style to a T is Downs.
That's the guy who I wrote down as like the early comp that I might stick with him in that place. Because Downs, I think this upcoming year, even with all the quarterback craziness that's going on in Indianapolis, like I think Downs ends the season with the most targets, the most catches, the most yards.
Downs is so good, and it makes you want to slam your head against the wall that he hasn't been in a situation that is more not advantageous to him, because when Flacco would play, Downs would become unlocked, and it's like, well,
yeah.
So
you mentioned the 8 drops. It was only 1 in each of the last 2 years before that. So it's like, all right.
Drop rate's a little high variance.
Let's see. Yeah, drop rate is considered an unstable metric. We've talked about stable and unstable metric before. Now, obviously, like, you want guys to catch the football, but, like, drop rate is considered a unstable metric that can go up and down every single year. You could just have bad years when it comes to drops, so we'll see what he could do this year. But I'm a big fan of Antonio Williams and what he could be at the NFL level. Who do you have at number 4?
So I didn't listen. Well, 5 was Eric Singleton.
Okay, yeah. Talk to me about Singleton. I'm lower on Singleton. I think he was like 16 for me, but I'm really low on him. But what do you think about Singleton?
So Eric Rivers, who I love, is actually going to take on Singleton's role that he had at Georgia Tech.
Yeah,
which is
just
kind of. Am I like running some Georgia Tech pipeline right now? I don't know.
You might be. Is this your team for NCAA 26?
Is this what might be. Yeah. Well, the problem is our dynasty that is still going right now. We have to start with 2-star programs or less. So Georgia Tech, not a.
So did you start with FIU last year?
I started with UNT.
Oh, shout out!
Yeah,
UNT hosted the East West Shrine Bowl practices. Was a phenomenal facility. Really enjoyed it. Loved it. They have a really good program.
Really good program. And yeah, I built them up to be a 4.5-star program. No big deal. Three titles in 6 seasons already.
Wow.
So, I know.
He's out here bragging.
We're out here. It's going to be sad when I wave goodbye to that team in, 3 weeks till launch? But Eric Singleton, he's now at Auburn. I'll just start with this. He is really raw. He's a track guy, okay?
Yes,
he was a sprinter on Georgia Tech's indoor track team. In high school out of Georgia, he was a state champion in the 100, in the 200, and in the 400.
Yeah.
This guy has freakish speed. freakish speed.
Yeah. Yep.
And last year, he did start to tap into that speed into production. 56 catches, 754 receiving yards, 3 receiving touchdowns, 21 rush attempts, 131 yards. That's 6.2 yards per carry, and 1 rushing touchdown. The dangerous speed that he has is utilized in actual football plays from the vertical pass game and jet sweeps / reverses in the run game. So he stresses the defense from a horizontal perspective in the run game, and he stresses the defense from a vertical perspective in the pass game. Where as much as he's a little raw right now in terms of playing the receiver position, he truly impacts both of those aspects, which is a lot of stress on a defense when, we're talking about a guy, Trevor, that at the combine, there's a world where he runs, a 4.28, 4.29?
Yeah, he feels like he could be a 4.2, 4.3 guy.
Yeah,
yep.
It's crazy. So he explodes over the top of the defense. If there was even a slight hesitation, he's gone. He played inside and outside at Georgia Tech, even though he's only listed 5'10", 178. He's still got that track body. I will say while watching this offense, and this is what kind of scared me with Rivers a little bit now, I think better quarterback play could unlock a lot more out of him, where I was like, well, there he is running down the sideline again, and he has to turn around and wait for a ball, or the ball didn't get there, or he's got that slender track body that's still developing into a football frame. He doesn't have a big catch radius. The route running really is a big detriment to me right now. And if it doesn't get better at Auburn, he will no longer be my wide receiver 5 in this class. I am just projecting that it'll improve. If it doesn't, it's a non-negotiable for me right now. He doesn't generate as much short area and intermediate separation as his speed would suggest. He generates vertical separation because that's a longer he's building up these strides, and the longer you're in coverage with this guy, you can't run with him. He's gifted. But when it comes to nuances, you talked about rounded routes before. You talk about false steps. He doesn't really have a polished short and intermediate route tree where a defender can go, well, you're really fast. I'm going to play 8 yards off and give you a cushion, and you're not making me challenge you underneath enough because you're not sharp enough in your route, the out route, in breaking routes. Get a guy going on a slant. So that's a big developmental point for Eric Singleton Jr. as he transfers to Auburn and hopefully has a monster season.
Yeah, you mentioned the track background, how accomplished he is as a track player or a track runner. That shows up on the football field.
Do you play track?
Specifically, what'd you say?
Do you play track?
Do you play
track player?
No, I don't think you do. I specifically watched the 2 Georgia games, or when he played Georgia, and he did not look out of place at all whatsoever. He looked like he belonged on the field, no question about it, against Georgia with their speed.
The jet sweeps are pretty funny.
The jet sweeps are out. He has great vision as a playmaker after the catch. He does.
He really knew when to cut it in or when to just keep it wide.
Yep.
And I was like, it's not like, oh, here comes the gadgety jet sweep again. It's an NFL jet sweep where you're like, shit, I don't know how to angle against this guy. The
issue is that I have him very close to where I have Zachariah Branch because I see them very similarly. A lot of the weaknesses, catchable passes caught percentage below 85% as an underclassman, like as his entire career as an underclassman. That's not great. He had 11 drops in 2023 and 2024. He does not have a lot of experience or success going up against true press looks. They just didn't put him in those situations very often. And when they did, he just didn't fare very well against it. And this is really what held him back for me. He did not have a good feel for soft spots in zone.
Oh, no. He has no feel for zone.
And when you are a speed demon type of a player, you are going to win vertically and you are going to win horizontally. Like, you have to win with drag routes, with digs, with deep and intermediate and shallow crossers. Like, and the way that you win with those routes isn't just being pedal to the metal the whole time. You have to feel the flow of the defense and know when to sit down. And there were so many times in the 3 games that I watched where he just did not throttle down. He just didn't slow down. So that specifically, he has to be a much better receiver against zone defenses. That's what I think about Singleton. So
I thought, one thing I will say, I thought he stressed the defense's presence more than Branch. Like, him being on the field was like,
I could agree with that.
He's dangerous. You gotta watch this guy before every snap.
Yeah. So my 4 is Denzel Boston.
He's 3 for me.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about Denzel Boston.
I'd call him a tie at 2, honestly. I really didn't want to separate 2 and 3.
He's legit, brother. He's legit.
I was wildly impressed with Denzel Boston, where I sat there and go, this guy was just buried at Washington.
100%.
Which is rare in college football in this era because guys just leave. They're like, well, go get more money elsewhere and more targets. And he didn't leave.
Is he a Washington guy? Yes, he's from the state of Washington.
Redshirt junior at Washington who has wrote it out because all they do is keep pumping out great skill talents. And he's 6'4", 209 pounds.
Which is 91st and 68th percentile.
My goodness. This is an NFL perimeter body right here.
Totally.
He's big. He's got long arms. He's got good mass. Last year, 63 catches, 834 yards, 9 touchdowns. I love this player. I think he does so. This is the benefit of actually sitting and watching and playing behind guys that are going to go be high-level NFL pros. He tracks the deep ball. He plucks it at the highest point. He has strong hands. He shields defenders on underneath routes with a wide back and shoulders. He's a mismatch in the red zone, but he knows how to use his mismatch size with long arms, a wide frame, and spacing. And in the run game, he gets after it. They trust him. They trust him in the perimeter on the run game. They can run his direction, and he can move a defensive back off the line of scrimmage or to the sideline, or he can crack down on a linebacker. He's a little stiff, Trevor. There's not a lot of twitch and short area agility, but I don't need that from him. This guy's a bully. He's a bully on the field, and if you want to find your like Jaden Higgins level kind of receiver or just that big perimeter target that dominates even when covered, Denzel Boston is wildly impressive.
I have so many more strengths than I have weaknesses for him.
I didn't have really a lot of weaknesses at all.
I did not either.
I was like, he's just kind of a little stiff at times, but it doesn't hamper his ability to win the ball.
But not like weight adjusted, you know?
No,
like,
right,
yeah,
right.
If you're watching him versus Singleton, like, yeah, but like even weight adjusted, I think these fine. Right. So the strengths, not slow out of his stance, eats up cushion very quick for a big man. Which cushion, when we say that, it's basically like if the defense is playing off coverage, what you want to do, especially if you're running a vertical route, is you want to eat up that cushion as fast as possible because you want to put that receiver or you want to put that defensive back like in conflict. Like you want to have them make a decision. Do I need to flip my hips one way or the other way? Or when you get close to them, you can set them up to put your foot in the ground and either continue to move up the field when they're not ready for it, or you have an in-breaking route. So when we say eat up cushion against off coverage, that's what it means. So it's like you're coming off of the line of scrimmage, they're playing off coverage, whether it's quarters, cover 3, whatever it is, and you're just eating up that cushion immediately. So you are getting in their face, putting pressure on them as they're in their back pedal, forcing them to flip their hips one way or the other, and that's where you can really manipulate them. So eats up cushion very quickly for a big man. Decent sharpness to his cuts for his size and his routes. Good understanding of routes. He'll even pull some double moves. I even saw some double moves in his tape. Very reliable with his hands with heavy volume in 2024. Maximizes the big catch radius with strong hands, good hand-eye coordination. Has yards after catch mentality, which is not always present for a guy who's an X, which, by the way, he is my number 1 X receiver that I have in this class. The weaknesses, the production tailed off when defenses kind of started to key in on him.
Right.
He only had more than 50 yards once in his last 7 games. You know, he started out the season as a monster, and then I think all the Pac-12 defenses were, wait, is Washington Big Ten defenses?
Yeah, Big Ten now.
All the Big Ten defenses were like, wait a second, that guy's pretty good. That's the guy who we need to cover, and he just wasn't able to produce, but a lot of times that's not always his fault. But, dude, he rules. I think Denzel Boston's fantastic. He's my number 1 X receiver in this class going into next season. And yeah, I got him at number 4, but I really like so I have him at number 4. The 3 guys ahead of him have the same preliminary round grade for me. They all have the same thing. So it's like late first, early second round type of players for me. I think all 3 of those players are on that level. And I know that people like when we compare the guys at the top of the class versus sort of where last year's class was. Do you want to save that for the end? We could do that with
Yeah,
top
we could do that
4
at the
guys.
end.
Okay, we'll save that at the very end. So we could do that then. Who is your? You had him
3.
3. So now where are we up to?
I'm at 4 because he was 4 for you.
Who's 4 for
4
you?
for me is Makai Lemon, the wide receiver at USC.
Okay. He is 1 for me.
Okay.
He is wide receiver 1 for me.
That's really funny because out of the list I was watching, him and Boston were the 2 I was like, oh, I didn't expect this at all. And maybe that's just on me. Like just on paper, you look at Lemon, he's 5'11", 195, and he had 52 catches for 764 yards and 3 touchdowns last year. Like, there's guys that aren't even on the list that had more production than this guy.
100%.
And he's number 1 for you, so I don't want to steal the mojo, but I have, I think, 8 strengths written down for him, and I had 2 weaknesses.
No, I'll give the background, and then let's have a little back and forth with him. So, I have him as my number 1 wide receiver in this class going into the season. I have him as my number 1 slot receiver, obviously. So I have him listed as a slot. I wonder if I'll have him as a flanker to see if he could really play on the outside. But, like, dude, even if he is just a slot receiver at the NFL level, the dude rules. I mean, like, he gets open at such a consistent
all
basis.
the time.
So he was a 4-star wide receiver in the 2023 recruiting class. He's just a true junior this year, so he might not even declare. I think he's going to, given this receiver class and how good he's going to be, but we will see. He played both wide receiver and defensive back when he was at when he was in high school. No track and field or multi-sport background, so he was football through and through. But he was football through and through, and I read that he was very close friends with Malachi Nelson, the quarterback who was the 5-star quarterback who, where is Nelson now? UTSA, I think. He was at USC, and then he was the one who went to Boise State, I believe. Didn't win the job at Boise State, and then he transferred over to UTSA. But, like, he was a 5-star quarterback recruit. He played on the same Pop Warner team with him. They won a national championship on their Pop Warner team. I think they played on the same 7-on-7 team. Like, these guys were best friends. They were highly touted recruits. So Lemon went to USC. Actually, Lemon was committed to Oklahoma when Nelson was committed to Oklahoma because they were a package deal. And then when Lincoln Riley went from Oklahoma to USC, both of them flipped over to USC. Obviously, Nelson is no longer there, and Makai Lemon still is. But Lemon played in 9 games for them at USC as a wide receiver and cornerback. He played both for them. Not a ton. He didn't play a ton of quarterback, but he played both positions for them his true freshman season. And then just as a wide receiver, he played in all 12 games with 6 starts last year. So here's the strengths that I have for him. Short strides, but can really move his legs like a V8 piston engine, man. I mean, this dude can generate serious speed despite the shorter stride lengths that he has with his size. Very nuanced and technical route runner to consistently create separation no matter what route he is running. The play speed is so fast. And I think that is an underrated part of playing this position is sometimes we go, hey, this guy's really fast. Watch him run a 9 route. Watch him run a post. Watch him run a drag route over the middle. Look at how fast this guy is. And you can say that a guy is fast. But sometimes play speed's a different thing. Like, when you are fast and yet totally in control to be able to change direction sharply at all times, that is the thing that translates at all levels of the game. And he is, in my opinion, a tier 1 player at being able to do that. Already has a really good baseline of different releases versus press despite being a slot receiver. He is feisty and strong, especially for his body type when it comes to his run blocking responsibilities. He'll give up some sizes in some contested catch situations, and the catch radius and the arm length could be lacking when you're really attacking the ball in the air and hauling those things in. But my scouting summary for him, Lemon wins with devastating quickness in every aspect of how he moves. His footwork out of his releases, the speed in his acceleration, the pumping of his hands to break press, clearing defenders and going up to catch the ball. He'll give you some situational versatility. due to lack of, or he'll give up some situational versatility, due to that lack of overall size. But this is a player who has the potential to be an incredibly productive pro. So that's how I saw him as my wide receiver 1.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. The way he alters the tempo in his routes and his IQ to attack the spacing and zone, he doesn't drop the ball pretty much ever. He dominates in one-on-one situations because of the play speed you brought up. I was so impressed with how seamless his transition is from pass catcher to open field runner. When he catches the ball, there's no delay in, okay, now I'm a weapon with the ball in my hands. It's all in one seamless motion. So I wrote down, like, can he win on the outside, or is he a slot-only player? And 2024, and this isn't his fault, it's the offense. For the games I watched, the route tree was very narrow. It was basically screen, hitch, go. And I don't know about you, but watching a lot of this offense, because we've watched Miller Moss and now 2 wide receivers from it last year, I hated this offense last
year. It feels like Lincoln Riley's losing his fastball.
Which, like, listen, for me to sit here and act like I can challenge Lincoln Riley, who's paid a ton of money for a lot of reasons, but man, this was last year. This offense was a tough watch, and it goes to show you with how high we have him ranked, just how good Lemon is.
I agree. I don't think that he was asked to run a lot of routes.
No, he's clearly not.
I would ask him to run every route. I do not, given the way that he moves, I do not think that he is limited at all whatsoever.
No, I think that you're looking at somebody that can be a really, really special wide receiver in terms of what you put on his plate mentally. Like, it's very clear that he has the physical ability to handle any single route or any attack, any coverage.
I love him. I think he is.
I like the shout from you for him being number 1.
Okay, that leads to your number 2.
Yeah, 2 for me was Carnell Tate.
Okay, I have Carnell Tate at 9, and I kind of hate myself for it because I wanted to like him even more than this, but you've got him at 2, so I'll let you intro him.
Yeah, Tate, I mean, this is a former 4-star recruit, actually out of Chicago, although he played his last 2 years of high school football at the very famous IMG Academy.
Shout out Bradenton, Florida.
There it is. Shout out to a school that is literally for sports. And if you went there, you probably were pretty damn good at whatever sport you played.
Yep.
So 52 catches last year, just 67 targets, 733 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Not surprisingly, Ohio State, they had some pretty important mouths to feed at wide receiver. 6'4", 191 pounds, or 6'3", 191 pounds. He looks every bit of it on film. You see the size, the length, real perimeter target. I was pretty surprised with the juice to get vertical. There was a lot of examples where I saw corners going into recovery mode, and I was like, oh, for his size,
he can get vertical.
He can get over the top and kind of put corners into this. Oh, boy, I'm trying to match your movements. I'm not getting my head around. Love the catch radius. Saw him pluck the ball over defensive backs, maximizes his catch radius. He only had 10 contested targets last year. He caught 6 of them. Once again, like, this is an offense last year where they have maybe the best player in college football in Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka, who just went in the first round as the number 2. So after they throw him a decent amount of screens, which is weird when you think of an outside wide receiver at his size, but it's because he plows through defenders after he's looking to run through. He does not get cute after the catch. It's like, okay, I'm going to lower my shoulder, get low and try to run through people. How about a 93rd percentile separation percentage last year, Trevor? He gets open, man. Dude,
and that's so what was the number versus single coverage is lower, but
yes, it was.
He is I remember seeing that score before I even turned on the tape, and I was like, okay, like, we might have something here with Tate, and that's ultimately why I was like, man, I'm surprised I'm not higher on him.
Yeah.
But keep going.
No, there's things he needs to work on. The routes, which I have full confidence Ohio State will develop this in him. The routes need more refinement. They're just not sharp and sold. It's weird. They're not. What I've loved about Ohio State wide receivers over the years, Garrett Wilson was amazing at this. I think JSN was amazing at this. Emeka Egbuka. Even Marv to an extent. He didn't have to be. The over-exaggeration at times of selling their routes with their upper half and lower half being in sync, the head and shoulder fakes with the lower half movement, is usually a 10 out of 10 for every Ohio State wide receiver. It's not that with Carnell Tate. It's not in his arsenal, which is something hopefully he can kind of tap into this year. And that goes back to the point I just made, but in a different bullet point, like why he doesn't always gain separation as smoothly as some of these other guys. The upper half and lower half just aren't always in sync. It's like his upper half is thinking about what his lower half is doing rather than it just doing it all in sync together. It's weird. He has speed without the ball, but he does not have speed with the ball. It's when he gets the ball, he's not very fast or dynamic.
He was another one where I kind of just I thought I was gonna see a different player at times,
right?
And to me, so he's a true junior going into this year. This is his first draft.
He's a young player,
season. And I wonder if a lot of the, we're doing summer scouting and yes, we're building in some natural projection for these players to get better. But at the same time, I think that people who listen to this podcast and follow us know that we're not just going to blindly hand it to you, right? Like Nick Harbor, we're not going to have Nick Harbor in the top
That's
5.
The perfect
we're
example.
Not going to hand it to you. So us being lower on Lenora Sellers in the quarterback episode,
sure.
We're not just going to hand it to you. And so Tate was one of those ones where it's like, okay, I think the potential of this player could be as a top 5 wide receiver in this class. I absolutely see it. But there was too many, I thought when he was running go routes, when he was getting vertical, he showed really good speed. And then there were other times where the play speed was way slower than I thought it was going to be. And it's like, you got to be able to play a little bit faster here. You got to be able to be a little bit more crisp in your routes. You've got to be able to stop and sit on curls and comebacks a little bit better. And so there are just these handful of things that I go, okay, I can realistically see you getting better at all of these things since it will only be your 3rd year in college this upcoming season. But again, I'm not just going to hand it to you. So I was a little surprised that I was lower on him. I had him at 9. I thought I was going to have him much closer to the top 5, maybe closer in the top, around maybe even where you had him in this list. But there were just things that I watched, and it's like, all right, I guess let me wait and see it. And if I do, I'll be the first one to, I think, get him a lot closer to maybe.
Yeah, it's his age 20 season. So in full, he turned 20 this winter. So he's a real 20-year-old. And I feel really good about his development, honestly. I do. I think with more opportunity, he's going to be just fine. To kind of sneak this in, I don't think he's a first-round player today, but I think he's a top 45-ish kind of pick. So where I want to catch up to where, because I've gone Singleton, Lemon, Boston, Carnell, Tate 5-2.
Yeah, and then you have one more player.
I have one more player left.
I have 2 and 1 left. No,
one for you is Lemon.
I have 3 and 2 left, and then Lemon is 1.
Ooh, yes. I wonder who I'm missing here.
I did not think that I was going to be this big of a look like this big of a homer on this podcast.
Holy smokes! And I didn't talk about him,
brother.
I didn't talk about him when I had him at 15. You talking about Eugene Wilson?
Trey Wilson rules, dude.
So I'm going to let you just run away with this one. But when I had him at 15, because I didn't think you were going to have him at all, I thought you were going to do the I don't want everybody to think I'm just supporting the Gators, blah, blah, blah. I was like, listen, man, I'm putting him at 15, even though he's a redshirt sophomore and didn't really play much at all last year. He was hurt twice. He missed 3 or 4 games and then had a season-ending injury when he came back from that. Because I watched the freshman year tape where he had 61 catches, and I was like, this dude is a silly athlete. Silly athlete.
Yes.
So I get it.
So, yeah, look, chomp, chomp, baby. I'll go full homer here.
3?
I don't care. I've got him at number 3. I think that his potential is unbelievable. And I think that not just his potential, we've already seen it from him. And when you break out the way that he did as a true freshman, I think that it could lead to some pretty special stuff in the future. So he's listed at 5'11", 190 pounds. That's 22nd percentile and 24th percentile. I have him as my number 2 Z flanker move wide receiver. He is only a redshirt sophomore going into this season because he was able to redshirt last year because you mentioned he only played in 4 games because he had 2 minor surgeries, one on his hip and one on his knee. So it was not a great season from him in that regard. He's a former 4-star athlete from Tampa, Florida. shout out again, playing more into the homer aspect of it. Attended Gaither High School. He started as both a wide receiver and a cornerback in high school. Also returned punts in track. He ran an 11.36 100-meter and a 22.85 in the 200-meter. He got 7 starts as a true freshman in 2023, and then I mentioned an injury-riddled year last year. His father, Eugene Wilson, played safety in the NFL, was a second-round pick in 2003 by the New England Patriots, played from 2003 to 2010 and won 2 Super Bowls with the New England Patriots. And I think that you can absolutely tell that he's got NFL bloodlines in him, and he's got like an NFL pedigree of when he was growing up playing the game. You can absolutely see that with how versatile this guy is, how natural of a mover he is, how natural he understands how to win at the game. Some strengths for him. He plays bigger than his measurables suggest. I think he could play outside or he could play in the slot. He is a springy athlete. Now, he might not have the best vertical speed, although I think he has good vertical speed, but it is that put my foot in the ground, boom, I am going a different direction. I'm coming out of my stance as a receiver against press coverage or against off coverage, and that first step is springy. I think that he is a springy type of an athlete is the adjective that I would use. 0 drops in his career on over 100 targets in the last 2 years. Very good blend of body control and explosiveness to be a high potential route runner. And we've already seen it. Even as just a true freshman, I think that certainly what you put on a true freshman's plate in terms of the routes that you want him to run are a little bit limited. But brother, what game was that where they're wearing the black jerseys? Who are they playing? Ole Miss? Who are they playing in 2023? Anyways, they were playing this team at home in 2023 where they were wearing the black jerseys, and his touchdown in that game, he hits an out and up from the slot position where it is just, you watching, you're just like, whoo! You're just like, oh, that is just the stuff. And Mertz times it perfectly and hits him perfectly, and it's just like, that was an NFL type of a play right there. But scouting summary of him, Wilson's the ideal chess piece Z type of move wide receiver who could be a mismatch player in pre-snap motion. His springy, natural athleticism allows him to line up in the slot or in the outside with consistent success despite smaller measurables. His hands are fantastic with 95% catchable passes caught percentages in each of his first 2 seasons. He already shows a good baseline for nuance as a route runner and in his release packages against press. If he can come back fully healthy, he could be one of the most coveted receivers in the 2026 class. Go Gators.
He moves different, dude. He's a lot of that freshman year, I will say he was kind of like the jet sweep king, but it was the pitch pass jet sweep too, which really beefed up the production, but it's all there for him to be a special talent. I mean, the speed, the change of direction, it really, you mentioned how reliable his hands are for such a young player.
Yeah, I think he's a stud. So Jordan Tyson.
Jordan Tyson is my number 1 wide receiver for summer scouting.
He is number 2 for me, the wide receiver for Arizona State. You intro Jordan Tyson to the good people.
Jordan Tyson, originally at Colorado, now at Arizona State. Redshirt junior, 6'1", 195, and he was phenomenal for Arizona State last year. 75 catches, 1,101 yards, 10 touchdowns. He caught 51 first downs, Trevor. Sometimes you turn on the tape and you just know. This guy for me is a first-round player right now. He is explosive. There is noticeable athleticism, in my opinion, with and without the ball. But his ability to utilize that in his skill set with his body control and the nuances of his game, he works back to the football consistently. He doesn't wait for the football. He has body control along the sidelines. He can adjust in the air back to the football. He has these like freaky adjustments in the air as a pass catcher. Yeah, he's 6'1", 195, which isn't massive, but he caught 10 of his 15 contested targets last year. They should throw him the ball when he's covered more because his ball skills, honestly, it's a little bit of the Garrett Wilson thing to me, where Garrett's slender. He's about 6 feet tall, but he's slender. Mm-hmm. But he's so good at contested situations when they finally throw him the ball, which Aaron Rodgers wasn't very good at, because his body control and timing is just, he's in the air forever, and he can kind of twist and turn these certain ways. He had a 94th percentile separation percentage against single coverage. So you cannot leave this guy in single coverage. He will make you pay. The only two concerns I have is that there's some concentration lapses that led to a few layups being dropped that I'm like, you are way too fucking good to drop that pass. You are just simply too good of a player. I know I was a little lower on the quarterback, Sam Leavitt, who I had 11th, because I think Leavitt is a drifter. I think if Leavitt can hang in the pocket a little bit more this year, you look at Jordan Tyson and he could have a 1,400-yard season instead of a 1,100-yard season. The second thing was he has been really banged up. He missed almost all of 2023 with the leg injury, and last year he had collarbone surgery that ended his 2024 season before it was the big show for the college football playoff. So that's 2 years now with significant injury. If this guy stays healthy, he is every bit of a first-round wide receiver, and I think the best in this class.
Yeah, I think that you hit on the buzzword is body control. I mean, he's got some of the best body control in the entire class, whether it is off the line of scrimmage, in his routes, or in yards after catch situations. He's a high-level yards after catch potential type of a player. He's a good blocker when he wants to be. Really impressive catches through contact. And Dalton Wasserman, my co-host at the PFF NFL show, who also does the college show with Max Chadwick, which you guys should go check out. He mentioned this, and he's right. Jordan Tyson's the best intermediate wide receiver in the class.
Oh, it's not close.
Between 10 to 19 yards, I think he had a 92.2 receiving grade. I mean, he was just unbelievable in the middle of the field, and that's a major area of where you want to be successful. So you're right. I said the same thing. I think that he had some concentration drops last year, just some lapse in judgment. The release packages were pretty basic, but I think that also kind of goes into the fact that this level of competition and the kind of brand of football they're playing at Arizona State, not that they don't develop it, but they just don't see a lot of press coverage. Like, it's just not, the game's a lot more wide open, it's a lot more vertical, so they don't see a lot of it. So he doesn't have a ton of different releases that he goes to, which he will need to. His brother Jalen, by the way, 20th overall pick of the Cavs in 2024. So pretty athletic family. Yeah.
Hey, imagine they have a third brother. I think he's the strength and conditioning coach at South Alabama. Yes, you are right. Imagine being him and being like, hey, my brothers are coming to the barbecue today. Oh, what do they do? Well, one's on the Cavs and the other's going in the first round next year for the NFL draft.
Yeah, it's basically a race to who's going to get drafted higher, basically. The over-under for Jordan Tyson.
Amazing prop bet set, Trevor, because Jalen went 20th.
Yeah, and I actually think that's a good over-under number.
That's the exact number.
For Jordan Tyson.
Yes, it's perfect.
So really quickly, before we end the show, because we said that we would do this, where these guys would fit in last year's class. I think I would still have Tetro McMillan and Travis Hunter as wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2.
Me too.
I would then have a pretty open conversation with Lemon, Tyson, and Trey Wilson actually, I'd throw Denzel Boston in there as well. I would have all 4 of those guys, my top 4 wide receivers, in a conversation with Luther Burden and Emeka Egbuka. But I would have all of them above Matthew Golden because I was a little bit lower on Matthew Golden.
Yeah.
I would have Golden closer to sort of like Antonio Williams, but I do think I'd probably have Golden maybe a little bit higher than Antonio Williams.
I'd have Hunter, McMillan, and Egbuka 1, 2, 3. I'd have Tyson at 4, but very, very close. But Tyson... If Tyson has the year this year that I think he could have, I'd have Tyson only behind Hunter. I think he's that good.
Okay.
But after that, it does open up with Carnell, Tate, and Denzel Boston, and who was I want to pull up my rankings again. And Lemon. Those guys would be in the Jaden Higgins, Matthew Golden territory for me right now.
Okay, I think that it would be I'd have
round 2.
Tet's still 1, Travis Hunter still 2. I think I'd still have Luther Burden the third at 3. I think I'd probably have Makai Lemon. No, maybe I think I'd maybe have Makai Lemon next. And then Emeka Egbuka, or maybe I'm flipping that, but then I would have Jordan Tyson, Eugene Wilson, and Denzel Boston, I think, right after that. Maybe I would have Matthew Golden ahead of Denzel Boston, but even that I'm not confident in. So they wouldn't topple those first 2 guys in my opinion, but then their this 4 is in that late first round, early second round conversation, in my opinion, with the guys we have in 2026. There we go. 15 wide receivers. Our top 15 wide receivers for the 2026 NFL draft, according to Summer Scouting's rankings. We would love to hear from you guys. We know you got wide receiver takes. Let us know what you thought of our rankings. Give us your rankings as well. We love to see that in the comments. Best way to do that, youtube.com/@NFL Stock Exchange. You can hit us up on Instagram and Twitter, @Tampa Bay Trey, @Connor J. Rogers. If you want to follow the show, @NFLSE Show on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, all that great stuff. And also, let us know any wide receivers that we didn't get to that you would love to see in the PFF Mock Draft Simulator. If you do that in the comment section on YouTube, hopefully I'll be able to get some eyes on them, and we'll get those guys in the simulator before it is all said and done. We appreciate you guys having a little bit of patience for us as we take a little bit of time off throughout the summer, and the episode being a little bit later, a week delayed. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully the wait was worth it. We're on to... We can do tight ends next, offensive line next. Yeah, we're gonna do so. We're gonna the summer scouting train still rolls on. Whatever position that we're gonna come up with next, it is a full summer of summer scouting here on the NFLSC channel. But you guys know that you're the addicts. We love you and appreciate you. For Connor Rogers, I'm Trevor Sikkema saying thank you guys so much once again for watching a 2-hour episode of the program. God, we love you guys. We'll see you guys next week.